And welcome, guys, to another episode of the Wrong Side Simulations, aiming to bring you the best content from the wrong side of the airplane, the right seat. And as always, my name is Blake, and I'm a real-world flight dispatcher aiming to bring you a little more context to your flight sim viewing and experience. And before getting underway on today's special little episode where we're going to do some flight planning, I just want to give a very heartfelt thank you to Blue Games and XP72 for having me on their stream last night and giving me their platform to share my story and share with all of y'all my passion for aviation and what I do for a living, and also just bring a little bit more light to the flight dispatch occupation as a whole. I mean, a lot of people don't know about us, and I wanted to kind of get that out there. So if there is anybody that for whatever reason can't fly and loves aviation, that this would be another option for them and set them up for success. So without further ado, to the chat, Chase, my friend, welcome aboard. Not sure if you're still around. See, you're at the barber, so I hope you get that nice cut, and hope the lines are straight. And aviation, how do you do that with the camera? It's so cool. I just use a PlayStation controller, go into drone camera mode, and start moving it around. Squiggly, you were great last night. Awesome, I appreciate that. That's so nice of you to say. I was incredibly nervous, and I think I was probably sweating profusely. But it was so much fun, and time went by so fast. I mean, it was a 2-hour long podcast, but it was time like it just flew by. I could have kept talking forever. And like last night's episode truly was only just like barely scratching the surface of flight dispatch, but it was so much fun, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you were able to be there to see it. Captain Robbie, what's going on? Nice job last night. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Captain Colorado, hey, you did great. Thank y'all so much. It means a lot. It really does. Sparkos, here from the pod, came over and immediately subscribed. Super insightful and fun. Awesome. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I hope that maybe you learned something, and yeah, thank you so much for subscribing. I hope that the podcast was one thing, but I hope that maybe through this episode that I will have earned your subscription. So hopefully that'll be the case by the end of the next few hours. Drew Stone, big up, man. How's it going? Hope all is well. Happy to see you again. So let's dive into it real quick. We'll probably pause the. Actually, I don't know if I want to pause music or not, because we're gonna be stuck with listening to the I know what. There's this little thing called volume control, and that'll help. Cool. I am the type of person that I struggle to think straight whenever I have a lot of sound in my head. So, like the title of the episode says, quick and dirty flight planning with real life flight dispatcher. So we'll go through just some like very general dispatch things to consider when flight planning, whether if I were doing a real flight or if we're just doing a flight sim flight. But one of the main things that I've come to learn over the past few days with chatting with some folks, when it comes to the different types of fuel on an operational flight plan, a lot of people don't really know whether the difference in the types of fuel, or also like if you're flying domestic U.S., what the reserve fuel would be. So we're going to cover that and just some very basic general like weather theory things to consider when planning a flight. And then after we plan the flight, we're going to follow the flight plan, which is also what dispatch does. We're going to follow the flight plan with VATSIM, and we'll make sure that our ATC strip is correct in the way that it should be, and then we're going to go fly the flight. So let's jump into it, shall we? Once I find my windows. Let's see, sim brief, we want that one, and aviationweather.gov. So before doing this, I was trying to find different sources to use that y'all would be able to access. I have a lot of things that I can get to because of my job, and it's all different sources and websites that my company pays for us to use. Obviously, y'all don't have those capabilities, so I wanted to use sources that everybody can use and also sources that are free. When it comes to applications that would overlay weather and airways and aviation layers like convective sigmets and pyreps and stuff like that, there are some pretty cool stuff out there that's relatively cheap. That would be great to use, but nonetheless, not everybody's got money to spend on stuff like that, and honestly, nobody really wants to, and I don't really blame you. So we got aviationweather.gov. There's a lot of sources on here that we can use. Aviationweather.gov is, I guess for its purposes, is decent. But as a real world flight dispatcher, all of the different sections, for example, like in forecast, we have convection, we've got turbulence, icing, winds, prog charts, all that kind of stuff. All of this information we can overlay on a single map, and we can toggle things on and off, and it just makes it a lot more user friendly to be able to do that versus having to, like on this website, having to go to several different pages on the website to get the information. Also, we're going to use flight radar. Again, it's kind of the same thing as aviationweather.gov. You don't get all of the PIREPs, but there is some basic aviation layers. This is the free version of Flight Radar. I wanted to make sure I might have the premium. I'm not sure. As a dispatcher, I'm kind of into weather, so there's some weather applications that I pay for, because I do enjoy, like, honestly, it's kind of nerdy, but on my time off, if there's big weather systems, I like to go and watch weather. I'll watch the way that airplanes are going around it, see if airplanes are having a hold, if not, and see if they're getting in or not. Also follow Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube. Is a weather analysis, but makes live streaming weather analysis somehow incredibly entertaining. Plus, he has a team of storm chasers and stuff, so it's pretty cool. But anyways, that's kind of like my side little things. I do really like to watch and analyze weather, but it kind of comes with the territory as a dispatcher. So, I think for the most part we're going to, oh my God, Tony, my man. And this was one thing I wanted to say last night, and in the stress and duress of like being on the show last night, I kind of wanted to shout out my buddy Tony. He works over at Jetline Systems. Jetline Systems, if y'all don't know, they're kind of a boutique computer company, and they build computers specialized for flight simulation. And those guys have been taking really good care of me for the past 2 years. I've been flight simming since 2009, and finally got to a point in my life with my career and financially where I could like somewhat go all out on a computer. And so I went over to Jetline, and man, they hooked me up. They took really good care of me, and still to this day, they got lifetime support. They're always hooking me up whenever I need help with anything, because I'm not the best computer person in the world. No idea how to build a computer. I had an issue where I wanted to swap out SSD, and all I had to do was call Tony, and we did a little Google Duo video, and he was like, oh yeah, just do this, and he kind of walked me through it. No better customer service, in my opinion, although I'm pretty biased, than Jetline Systems. So if you need a computer for flight simming, Jetline Systems is where you want to go. Hands down, the best. Awesome people. So, Tony, dude, thank you so much for the donation. You are always coming in clutch. I appreciate it so much. So I hope you're doing well, man. I missed the live show last night, but looking forward to catching. Heck yeah, dude. It was, even though I was the one like doing the show, I went back and I rewatched the whole thing, because it went by so fast. And I felt like I was pretty scatterbrained. And went back and trying to put myself in y'all's shoes and somebody from like the outside looking in. I tried to watch it from that perspective, and I felt like it was pretty interesting, and like I was able to maintain my thought process. But man, I was so stressed out. I was struggling. So Captain Dispatch, man, what's going on? Happy to see you here. Hey, my guy, LOL, thanks for the insight. Man, you are absolutely welcome. Hoping that one day soon you'll get you a dispatching gig. Guys in the chat, Captain Dispatch, him and I have been in combos for a little while, and he is a certified flight dispatcher. I think he's just trying to find him a job. And then we got the legend, Flaps 121 Simulations, my buddy Rio, and fellow dispatch coworker. Man, welcome aboard. Thank you so much last night for the kind words. After him and I had a conversation last night after the show, and man, it touched me very much with the nice things that you had to say. So let's get into planning this flight. So we are going to be operating flight 204, and as a real life dispatcher, if you're dispatching flights, pretty much all the preset stuff is preset. So it's going to be like your flight plan and call sign and city pair and all that kind of stuff. You just kind of go into the flight and plan it. So this first part you wouldn't have to do, but we're all flight simmers and we all use SimBrief, so we're going to start from scratch. So I am flying on vSpirit today. as well as a pilot's life, and a pilot's life schedule is telling me to operate flight 204 Denver to Vegas, so that's what we're going to do. So call sign 204, or Spirit Wings 204, and then we're departing Denver, going to Vegas. We all know this part. Now, the first part of dispatch that we're going to come across to now is making the decision whether or not we want to carry an alternate. There is a general rule, or not actually a general rule, but it's an FAR, that if the weather conditions 1 hour before time of arrival and 1 hour after time of arrival with less than 2,000 foot ceilings and less than 3 statute miles visibility, you require an alternate. So the first thing we need to do is we need to check the weather for Vegas. Fortunately, SimBrief has a nice little easy way to check the weather, and we'll just click on the little cloud, and it's going to give us the METAR and the TAF. If you don't know how to read METARs or read TAFs, I guess I could help, but it's one of those kind of things that's you might need somebody to teach you in person, or maybe look it up online, and it takes a little bit of time to just kind of get your eyes acclimated to it. So we are planning to depart at 17:30. This is kind of the hard part, and one of the downfalls, I guess, of SimBrief is to determine the 1, 2, 3 rule. So if we need to find out if we need an alternate or not, we need to know what time we're landing. And that's kind of the hard part at this point, because we don't really know what time we're landing. So we might actually have to skip the alternate as of right now, calculate the flight plan, see what time the en route time is, do the math on what time we're departing versus what time with the en route time, figure out what time we're landing to determine our alternate. So I guess we'll do that for now. We'll just leave Ontario as the alternate. As a real life dispatcher, Ontario is an alternate that I would use in real life. Ontario is usually pretty solid when it comes to weather, but we'll get to that part here shortly. Let's plan a little conservatively. We'll plan to depart at 1740 is fine. I do have a custom profile based off of the Phoenix, but I input some custom weights into this airplane based off of the real life Tail 697. So that was kind of more of my thing. So yeah, we'll get to that after we calculate the flight plan once. Everything else is pretty standard. We're just going to leave it. Coming down here. So we need to figure out what runway we're going to depart off of, what runway we're going to land on. So I've got the Addons for Denver pulled up here. And the Addons says, let me refresh, make sure we've always got the current information. It is a new Addons as of 1653Z. Winds are variable at 4 knots, 10 statute miles, few at 9,000, few at 12,000, temperature's 27, dew point 13, and the altimeter is 3028. Variable winds can kind of make things a little hard on the planning side. Sometimes you just don't really know what the airport's going to do. The software doesn't really know what to do because winds are variable, right? There's not like coming from it's not a steady state coming from one direction. So with that, you can kind of tell that it's a little with the winds being varying, like the airport's doing some kind of weird things. So we're departing off of runway 8 and runway 25, as well as runway 34 right. So we're kind of going in 3 different directions. This can be good, can be bad. Probably not necessarily bad, but for us, we're going to be heading to the west. So the runway that I would choose as a dispatcher, since we're going west, we want to take runway 25 because it is going west. Potentially, we could be assigned runway 34 right by ATC. It would be a shorter taxi, and it would just be a left-hand turnout. Not a big deal. But initially, as a dispatcher, as long as performance isn't an issue, because sometimes you might have more performance limiting factors with different runways. If runway 25 doesn't have some sort of big performance hit compared to 34 right, then I would plan 25. That way it's just a straight out departure. The more of the straight out departure that you're going to have, the shorter the block time is going to be, and the quicker you get to the destination, and less likely to be to arrive late. So in this sense, we're going to pick runway 25. And for those of y'all who want a visual reference, looking at the Denver airport diagram, this is something that dispatchers are going to do for a lot of flights. You know, if you need a visual reference of the airport and what direction the runways are pointed, sometimes it does take a little time as a dispatcher to visualize those directions and to see, to look at the wind direction and then kind of figure out your runways based off of that without having to look at a diagram. But if you want to look at a diagram, runway 8 is going this way over to the east, and then runway 25 is going to the west, which is the direction that Vegas is at, so that's kind of why we're choosing that way. But if we need to do 3-4, what was it, 3-4 left? 3-4 right. If we need to, if we have to depart 3-4 right, it's not a big deal. Will definitely be a much shorter taxi for us. We are parked at Charlie 46, which is right over here. It'll be a really short taxi over. So with that, taking off to the north, we'll have to make a left-hand turn, and that will extend the en route time just a little bit. But for all planning purposes, we're going to plan on runway 25, and if ATC assigns something different, we'll deal with it then. So 25 is in the box. Now, arrival runway. Let's take a look at Las Vegas's Addons, and I will put this. I'll put this website in the description. I did put aviationweather.gov as well as Flight Radar if that's something y'all want to use. Those websites are in the description, and you can save them to your toolbar and have them for every time you want to plan a flight. So now, coming into Vegas, they are also information Foxtrot. Let's see. Winds are 040 at 8 knots, 10 statute miles, scatter 25,000. Temperatures 35, dew point 1, altimeter 3003, and our landing runways 8 right and 19 left. This, from my experience, kind of seems like a typical configuration for Vegas during the day. Most of the time, they're landing on 26 left in the 19s. Sometimes if the winds are a little bit different, they'll be landing on the 1s while still landing on 26 left. It's not like the most often that they're landing on the 8s. So interesting configuration for today. Because of the direction that we're coming from, I'm going to plan runway 19 left. So pulling up the charts again. So we're coming from the northeast, right? And it's definitely a much more straight in approach, if you will, not necessarily straight in, but it's coming from the landing on 19 left is basically coming into the direction that we're coming from. The 8s would be better if we were coming, say, from like San Diego or somewhere west. But since we're coming from the northeast, we're going to plan runway 19 left. We'll come in, it'll be a nice little left-hand turn and land versus having to come all the way past the airport, turn around, and come back. So we're going to plan 19 left. Now, the flip side of that is, if in real life, we're planning this flight, I put them on 19 left, but ATC assigns them on the 8s. Now, it is going to be an increased fuel burn because they're having to fly past the airport, turn around, and come back. So that's something that you might want to account for. You can throw in a tad bit of extra gas just to account for that burn, or you can just plan for it. Like you can put the 8s in there as far as your arrival runway, and they'll have the fuel for it. And if they get assigned 19 left, then all the better. They've already got the gas. Not a big deal. But realistically, I would probably get assigned 19 left to land on. So we're going to plan 19 left. And we got it. Then we got our taxi out, taxi in times. It's a little bit of a taxi from where we're currently sitting over to runway 25. But 20 minutes on the taxi out should be plenty. I think it's roughly 500 pounds. So that should be okay. I don't anticipate any taxi delays out of Denver today. Doesn't look like on Volanta that Denver is a hot airport right now. So I'm okay with the 500 pounds. Taxi in is kind of irrelevant. We don't really plan taxi in fuel. You plan to God that you land with enough fuel to taxi in. So we don't really plan that. Extra fuel. Now there's a big difference between extra fuel and contingency fuel. This part of SimBrief I have pre-saved. I use the OFP United Airlines 18 layout. It's the closest to my company's OFP layout, so I use that. Obviously, being an American and planning mostly domestic flights, I have my unit set to pounds. Then we got contingency fuel and then reserve fuel. In the United States, reserve fuel is 45 minutes. So if you're planning a domestic U.S. flight, you want to have this set to 45 minutes, and you can go ahead and save that as default because you'll want that for every flight if you plan, predominantly United States domestic flights. That is an FAR. You have to have your 45 minutes of reserve, so that never changes. Then contingency fuel. So contingency fuel is required fuel. Now let's say if we're planning this flight from Denver to Vegas and we're anticipating some mountain wave turbulence as we cross the Rockies and we might have to deviate in our cruising altitude, that is a constraint. Constraints, you have to plan fuel for known or forecast constraints. So with this, we wouldn't be over the worst part of the Rockies for very long, especially since we're just coming out of Denver. Some would say, we'll throw 10 minutes on for that. And if we come across any other constraints, then we'll increase the contingency fuel. Each company has a fuel policy, and everybody's is different. At my company, all flights have a minimum of 10 extra minutes of extra fuel. Extra fuel is below the line, and we'll talk about more, and I'll show you the line when we look at the operational flight plan. But the line is basically min required takeoff fuel. So it's going to be your trip fuel, your reserve fuel, alternate if you're carrying one, and any contingency fuel. All of that combined makes your min required takeoff fuel. That is fuel that you have to have on the airplane when you enter the runway for takeoff. If you don't have it, you can either return to gate and get more gas or contact your dispatcher, and if the contingency fuel that was planned for constraints, if the constraints are no longer a factor, then we can reduce that and reduce that min takeoff fuel, and now we don't have to return to gate, we don't have to endure a delay, and we can go ahead and rocket on out of there. So for now, we're going to plan 10 minutes of contingency fuel just because we're crossing the Rockies. Sometimes mountain wave is hard to predict. So we're going to take 10 minutes of extra gas for that because I wouldn't anticipate that our altitude deviations would last very long. We'd probably have to level off at a lower altitude for a short period of time and then continue our climb later on. So we got 10 minutes for that just to start with, and we got our 10 minutes of fuel policy fuel. Other than that, I like to leave my altitude at auto for the first calculation just to see what it thinks and what it wants to do. I do believe that SimBrief runs the altitude based off of aircraft weight and winds aloft. So today we're going to the west, so we're going to have headwinds, and it might determine that the winds lower are better than higher, and it might put us at a lower altitude. And in other days, it might go higher if the headwinds are stronger at lower altitudes. So we're going to leave altitude at auto. Next, we got our passengers. The V-Spirit tells me my passenger count, which is 173. So I'm going to throw in 173. We've got 173 booked. Now, to determine our freight, which would just be bags, I'm going to break out my little calculator, and we're going to say that each passenger, for planning purpose, now this is just planning, to try to have like accurate estimated zero fuel weight that's going to be somewhat close, so that, or for planning purpose, so we have the correct amount of fuel on the airplane. So 173 passengers, we'll say each passenger has a bag, and that bag weighs 40 pounds. So 173 passengers times 40, or 173 bags rather, times 40, gives us 6,920 pounds. So we'll just put in 6.9, and that will account for the bags. There we go. And zero fuel weight, obviously we're going to leave that auto because that's going to be dictated by the passengers as well as the freight. Lastly, I am the captain, so we'll do this. We'll say wrong side. And then our dispatcher's name. How about, we're going to have two dispatchers, Blu and XP. And then pilot ID, that would be an employee number. Now, I'm gonna make just one calculation to kind of determine what our en route altitude is going to be and what our estimated time of arrival will be based off of that en route altitude. And I am tearing up my EFB. So let's see. For our initial, it's planning flight level 340, so I guess it's determining that the winds higher up are probably stronger and would slow us down, increase our fuel burn, so it's putting us lower at flight level 340, and it's an hour and 28 minutes en route. So if we're departing at 1740, 1840, and what's that mean, 1840, so close to like 1910 Zulu on the arrival. So we're going to go back to edit flight. And now that we know what time we're going to land, which is going to be roughly 1910, we're going to use our 1, 2, 3 rule to determine if we need an alternate. And again, this 1, 2, 3 rule is going to be a little bit more advanced, especially just for simmers. This is something we learned in dispatch school and we perfected over time. In the beginning, this is kind of hard to do because you're having to look at multiple lines of the TAF and you have to know how to read a TAF. If you don't know how to read a TAF and you don't feel like learning how to read a TAF and you don't want to do the 1, 2, 3 rule, just put an alternate for every one of your flights. Keeping in mind, if you have like a full passenger count, you might be pretty heavy, especially like on some long haul flights. So you might want to choose an alternate that is closer rather than further. And to do that, you can go down to alternate airports at the very bottom, hit customize, and you can change your alternate there and choose whatever you like. In real world dispatch, we are bound by our company operation specifications. And our op specs tells us, like, we have a list of approved airports that we can use. So you can't just choose any airport in the world. In real life dispatch, we're bound, and we can only choose whatever airports we're approved for. So let's figure out if we need an alternate. Landing at 1910. This is probably really hard to see, so I can blow that up for you. Might get real big. Alright, we're landing at 1910 Zulu. So looking at an hour before that, which is 1810, puts us in this line. Alright, so in this line, winds are 160 at 8, greater than 6 miles visibility. That's what the P means. Scattered at 25,000. Pretty good weather. Not worried about that. Hour after would be 2010, and that's going to put us in this line. So we got 18 Zulu, and then from 20 Zulu. So in this line, winds are 190 at 12, gusting 20. So now we got some gusty winds. Greater than 6 miles and scattered at 25,000. So, as a dispatcher, you get used to planning flights into particular airports, and each airport kind of has their own characteristics. And Vegas is one of those kind of more cautious airports where what weather condition happens in Vegas may affect them that wouldn't affect most other airports. For example, gusty winds. With the mountainous terrain that's around Vegas, slight wind gusts can result in wind shear, and they'll start holding, even on a beautiful day, if they start getting some wind shear. So for us as dispatchers, if we see wind gusts in Vegas, we're usually tacking on an alternate or at least putting a fair amount of extra gas to give our crews options in the event that they get wind shear, need to hold, might need to divert somewhere. But we have to take into consideration, at my airline, the closest good alternate that we have that's an online station, because typically you want to go to a station that your company flies to scheduled services to, because you're going to have people there, you're going to have services there and that kind of stuff. You don't really want to go to an airport that you don't have people, because now that diversion recovery, trying to make it back, is going to take a lot longer. So the closest company airport to Vegas that we have is going to be LA, which is like 205 miles or something like that in a straight line. So in the event, that we come in and we've only got a little bit of extra gas and we get some wind shear, we might EQ. Come on, bro. And I'm gonna get back to the chat in just a few. But yeah, so if we're planning just a little bit of extra gas and then wind shear happens, being that our closest online station is 200 miles away, we may not be able to make it there. So we're trying to take that in consideration and weigh out the likelihood of an actual diversion happening. And if it's very probable, we're going to just go ahead and put that alternate. If it's not very probable, we might put an offline station that's closer, like St. George, which is KSGU. We can put them and tack on a little bit of extra gas. And if an actual diversion does become likely, with that alternate and the extra fuel, we now probably have the fuel range to make it to LA if we actually need to divert. So we try to be flexible in our thought process and not just handing out alternates for every single flight and costing the company a lot of money. So winds kind of meh, and this is about an hour after we get there. Now winds can change and they can happen sooner than later and that kind of stuff. So I'm taking that in consideration as well, that this is happening just before we get there, so it could likely happen when we get there. Now that's just the winds. So that's the hour before, hour after. Then we're looking for less than 2,000 foot ceilings, which we don't even have ceilings. We have sky conditions. Scattered and few is a sky condition, and then broken or overcast are ceilings. So even if this was scattered at 2,000, it's just a sky condition, so it doesn't really apply. If it's broken at 2,000, well, now I'm really paying attention, because if this TAF were to change and it were to go down 100 feet to 1,900 feet, well, now we require an alternate. So anyways, per today's TAF on the ceilings, we don't have ceilings. It's going to be a pretty day out there, so we're not worried about the ceilings. Next is visibility. Visibility is great. We got greater than 6 miles when we get there. Again, beautiful day, so we don't care about that. So really the only thing I'm paying attention to today on this flight is the gusty winds that may or may not happen when we get there. So personally, I would probably put an offline station that is close as an alternate, and then also tack on a little bit of extra gas to increase that fuel range in case we do need to go to LA if we capture some wind shear. So we're going to do just that. Ontario, we're going to do St. George. It's pretty close. It's like 80 miles away. And we'll just analyze this route so it takes it, hopefully. There it goes. And now looking at the map, we can tell, oh, it didn't. Still took Ontario. KSJU. There we go. Okay. So now looking at our map, see we got Denver coming all the way down, but then we also have the routing for our alternate as well. So that's one of those things that we can put into the secondary as we're getting close, and if the weather or the winds are really kicking up, we can go into the secondary of the McDo, go ahead and plot this route, which I'm not sure if I've even seen the route in the OFP. So that's something we want to look for. But we can put that route in the secondary, and if we can't get into Vegas, activate the secondary and go to our alternate. So we're going to carry St. George. Now again, back to the contingency fuel, we've already got 10 minutes for possible mountain wave turbulence crossing the Rockies. So this is where aviation weather is going to start coming in. And again, as a dispatcher, when you already know this stuff, you can go through this really quick, and it's not a long, drawn-out process like we're making it right now. But for teaching purposes, we're kind of slowing things down and breaking it down one by one. So we're going to go to this is aviationweather.gov. This is the home page. There's different layers. Obviously, we've got weather radar. We've got some convective SIGMETs down here. We got PIREPs around with some how-to airways. We got the ATC centers showing as well. If you're not familiar with like weather layers or aviation weather layers, like convective SIGMETs tell you an area of thunderstorms, and it gives you a little bit of information on those thunderstorms. So here, it's effective for Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and coastal waters. But the main thing that I care about as a dispatcher is the direction that it's moving, but even more so, how high are those tops? The tops on these thunderstorm cells down here are up to 45,000 feet. Well, we're not flying a private jet. The highest we can get to is 38,000, 39,000 feet, depending on direction of flight. So no way we can get over those. They are mostly scattered as of now. I would definitely want to analyze like what weather fronts are out there. If it's a cold front, this stuff will probably build and become a little more solid. If it's just a trough or no front, it's probably going to remain scattered. Just afternoon little pop-up thunderstorms, not a big deal. Throw a little extra gas on there for some bobbing and weaving around, no problem. Unless ATC were to close, there are some Gulf airways out here. If the weather got too bad, ATC would close those airways because they can't work aircraft around the thunderstorm cells, and that can also become an issue for dispatchers and for flights, whether you're in the planning process or en route. But that's just a general overview on like convective segments. All these red boxes are thunderstorms. Here, this stuff looks a little more severe. This is an actual linear line of weather, so there's probably some sort of a cold front or a stationary front that's running through here that's powering this, and we can definitely check. If we looked at the convective segment, it's an area of embedded thunderstorms moving from 270 at 30 knots. Tops are at 45,000 feet, so ain't nobody other than maybe like some really nice private jets that may get over that. So on the airlines anyways, and that's mostly what we care about, they're not going to get over that, so we're going to have to go around it. But, you know, today's flight, we're out west. We don't have any weather, so that's nice. But that's just to show y'all and give y'all a brief description of what convective segments are. We've also got PIREPs. There's certain kind of PIREPs that we care about as dispatchers, and there's some that we don't. This would be one that we probably wouldn't really care about too much, but this is a light chop PIREP reported by a 321. For the most part, light chop, obviously it's not a big deal. People can still get up and move around, probably still have the seatbelt sign off. It's not very problematic. But then once you start getting into these, the orange ones, this one in particular is light to moderate, but the orange means up to moderate. If you have moderate turbulence, the seatbelt sign has to be on, and I do believe the flight attendants have to be seated as well, because it can be, you know, a problem for people walking around. So when we have areas of PIREPs, especially when there's a lot of them, because the more there are, the more, you know, it's not just like an intermittent area that like maybe like one aircraft has caught some turbulence. It's like an area of turbulence, probably caused by either a jet stream or cold front, or maybe even like bad weather, like thunderstorms can kick off some turbulence as well. So when we see like an area of a bunch of them, we know like, hey, that's probably not a great area. Maybe we even try to route around that, as long as it's not going to like overblock the flight by too much. So we're taking that into consideration, and once they're airborne, we can see the route overlaid on the map, and we start seeing a lot of moderate turbulent PIREPs popping up. We're going to reach out to the crew and say, hey, you know, between this point and this point on your route, moderate turbulence at this altitude, and so we can either like give them directions to go around it, or we can get them below it, stuff like that. So that's going to be your PIREPs. The other PIREPs that you usually don't want to see are going to be severe turbulence PIREPs. Don't think I see any here. But yeah, when you see severe turbulence PIREPs, your ears should really stand up, and if it's anywhere close, like within 100, 150 miles of your aircraft's route, you should tell them about it. Turbulence can extend for hundreds of miles. So if we see severe turbulence, especially if we start seeing more than one, we want to let them know. The other thing we take into account when it comes to turbulence as dispatchers is we care about the aircraft type. If it's a 321 that's reporting it, well, we fly 321s. That's a medium to large size aircraft, so like, let them know. But now if it's a Cessna 172 cruising around and they say moderate turbulence, yeah, don't care. Or even like a CRJ 200, we don't care. Our airplane's a lot heavier. Planes are like boats in the water, and the water being the air, you know, and you got currents and you got waves and all that kind of stuff. So think of the sky as the ocean, and if you got a cruise ship or a yacht in the ocean, you're not going to feel as much as you would feel if you're in an old John boat, or, you know, P-row or something like that. If you're Cajun Louisianan like myself, well, I'm not Cajun, but if you're a Louisianan, you know what a P-row is. So yeah, so we don't really care if it's a small airplane, not a big deal. Not going to tell them about it. When we start seeing big airplanes, especially when you see like severe turbulence reported by a 777, we want to tell them about that. One other kind of PIREP would be low-level wind shear, and here's a low-level wind shear PIREP. Reported by a Piper, so we don't care. But if this was reported by, you know, an airliner, we would care. But this PIREP says that low-level wind shear, loss of 10 knots on short final runway 32 during descent into whatever airport. So we wouldn't really care. Stand by, I gotta. Hey, attaboy, everybody in the chat. For those of y'all who are new, EQ in the chat. is in dispatch school, and he just took his test that the school requires you to pass for them to allow you to take your FAA dispatch test, and he just passed. So congratulations, Jay, man. Super, super proud of you. I know it's been a pain in the ass. You've had everything working against you with a lot of life stuff going on. So, dude, congratulations. Now you just got to get over that last hump of the ADX and the oral and practical. The oral and practical is not as big. Just the ADX is the only thing you got to worry about. Get over that ADX, dude, and you are set. Pass that oral practical and start your career at Republic and sit on that dispatch desk. And then you and I can start having dispatch conversations and get into that lingo that only a dispatcher or I guess maybe a pilot would understand. And that'll be a lot of fun. But, dude, so happy for you. That is amazing. Man, I'm just so touched that that where you're going in life. Man, it's so awesome. So, but again, you better pay attention because all this applies to you because you're about to be doing this stuff. So, all right. So for our particular flight, now we've kind of touched on a lot of the general weather and PIREP type stuff that we look at as dispatchers. Now we're going to look at our flight. In dispatch, we have pretty expensive software. We can overlay airports and routes and weather and all kinds of stuff. But we're flying from Denver, which is over here, roughly, should be over here, where this all these airways meet up. And then we're coming down to Vegas, which is down here. Don't see any weather. Right now, that's the main thing I'm looking at on this map is I don't see any thunderstorms. So we're good there. We can go ahead and just get rid of this. I don't see any PIREPs other than this moderate turbulence, but it's at 19,000 feet. And I don't even know what aircraft that was reported by, H-25B. I don't know what that is. It's not an airliner, so I don't really care. We're going to be above that. Not a big deal. We do have a moderate turbulent PIREP near Vegas, but it is also a Piper. Don't care. So, rides, based off of PIREPs, rides look like they should be pretty good for the most part. I would still anticipate on Mountain Wave just because we're crossing the Rockies. We're going to keep the 10 minutes for that. We're going to add 10 minutes for the gusty winds. That'll give us a total of 20 minutes. Plus, we're going to have St. George as a precautionary alternate for possible gusty winds, which could lead to low-level wind shear at ETA. So we'll get rid of this for now. And so we got our alternate. Let's tack on that extra 20 minutes of fuel. Or extra 10 minutes on top of the 10. So that gives us a total of 20 minutes. So between contingency fuel and our extra fuel, which is part of the fuel policy, we've got a total of 30 minutes of extra gas and St. George. Should cover us pretty well. So the only thing that to maybe consider would be arrival rate demand. If you're dispatching a real life flight, then we're going to look at the arrival rate demand, and I can do that now just to show y'all what we look at as real life dispatchers. Let's take a look at Vegas. So at Vegas, at 19:15Z, which is roughly the time that we're going to get there. If this was a real life flight, I should probably blow this up for y'all so y'all can see it a little bit better. But yeah, at 19:15, you got this black line, and this line indicates the arrival demand that Las Vegas ATC can accept. They can take up to 17 airplanes in a 15-minute block of time. We tend to look at the 15-minute blocks because you can also select 30 minutes and 60 minutes, but this can be very misleading. You want to look as close to our ETA as possible. So if you look in here, 1900 is below the max arrival demand. So they can take 68 in an hour, and they have 28 landing in an hour. Or actually, rather 38, sorry, because it does break up the difference between these between the flights that are active versus flights that are planned. So a total of 38. They can take 68. So it's like you would think if you look at the 60 minutes, like, arrival rate's not an issue, no extra gas. But when we look at the 15-minute block, now we can tell at our ETA, we are over max arrival demand. So they can take 17 in a 15-minute block of time, and we've got 18 landing. So there's a potential that on descent, you could get vectors for spacing, or maybe start metering while you're en route because they know that this spike is coming. So there might be some tactics that ATC will implement on you as the pilot, and it's going to cost you some gas. So we'll plan a little bit of extra gas for this. I wouldn't anticipate too many issues because the arrival rate before, the 15 minutes before, is low, as well as after. Now, if we got delayed, and we might be because we're supposed to leave, I think, right now, so we're going to be delayed. If we're coming in around 2000 Zulu, now as you can tell, it's way over arrival demand. They can take 17, and there is a total of 27. So there might be some short holds, just so that they can start getting airplanes in and get those guys out of the hold and sequence them in once they've kind of relieved some of that traffic congestion. So as a real life dispatcher, this website we are using, this is real life arrival demand, and we definitely take this into consideration when it comes to planning flights. But again, for Vegas, again, on Valenta, it's not a hot airport. If we were going to LA, it is a hot airport. There's a lot of people flying into there. So I'll probably plan some extra gas going into LA. But Vegas looks pretty chill for now. So yeah, we'll probably, I don't think we're going to need extra gas for any arrival demand. Cool. So now I think I'm pretty good with this fuel load. We got our 20 minutes contingency fuel. We got our 45-minute reserve. We got our 10 minutes of extra fuel below the line. Feeling pretty good about it. So last thing we need to do as dispatchers, well, we want to make sure we got a SID and a star, because ATC will definitely reroute you if you don't. Today's flight, because it's such a clear flight, there's nothing really going on en route. We're just going to use this this first route that SimBrief suggested. These should be ATC preferred or ATC preferred routes or CDR routes, which are ATC approved routes. It's pretty straightforward. SID, star, whatever. Not a big deal. One thing I do like with SimBrief is if you want to, you can overlay winds aloft, which are very important, more so for longer flights. But if we were coming from like Baltimore, coming to Las Vegas, we definitely care about these winds aloft because, again, the sky is like the ocean and you have currents, and we prefer to be in as little of a headwind or a head current, if you will, as possible to avoid slowing us down, because if you fly into strong headwinds, it will slow the airplane down. It's going to take longer to get there. So just looking at this map today, if we were doing Baltimore to Vegas, we definitely want to go a little bit further south and get out of these headwinds. If you're not familiar with winds aloft and these wind barbs, so for every 50 knots, you see these kind of darker wind barbs. The big ones are 50 knots. Then the long ones are 10 knots, and then the half or the little stubby ones are 5 knots. So for example, if y'all can even see this, this one here, you got the thick one, so that's 50 knots. Then you got a taller one, so that's another 10, so that's a total of 60. Then you got the little half one, so that's 5, so that gives us a total of 65 knot winds going in that direction. So if we're going through here, wouldn't be great as compared to going a little bit further south, depending on how far south. I mean, still, distance is distance, and if you start adding a lot of distance, you're not doing yourself any favors. But yeah, so the winds are definitely a little bit more chill the further south you go. That's going to be a little bit more applicable on longer flights, and where we have the ability to route per optimum winds. This one being just a short little hour and a half long flight, we wouldn't care a whole lot. We're not going to change our route just because of winds. But once we get airborne, it looks like the winds are pretty calm for the most part. Not calm, but they're pretty chill. Maybe 30 knots at most. Once we get a little bit closer, they get a little bit stronger, but we'll be descending. So these winds are for flight level 340, and you can adjust your winds based off the altitude that you're flying. You can also turn on significant weather. This will just show you kind of a prog chart view of where they expect weather to be or where weather is. So like for in this area, they got isolated embedded thunderstorms at 42,000 feet. But I don't really look at this. I'd rather go look at an actual weather radar, right? As I think most of us would. So SimBrief's pretty cool. They got a bunch of different little things you can look at. Airways, you got airports. You can choose if you want to look at like turn these wind barbs off. If you just want to look at alternates, it'll show you different alternates around that you can choose from. Not really sure what dictates a green alternate versus a not green alternate. Probably maybe weather. Yeah, so like this airport, Vandenberg, whatever this is, they got fuel at 500. So they probably wouldn't want to use that. And then in the TAF, looks real nasty. What are they using here? They're using meters? This is like meters. So in the States, we usually use nautical miles, but this is meters. But yeah, so from 15Z to 16Z, they're expecting 800 meters of visibility, fog, and vertical visibility at 100 feet. Definitely not going to use that as an alternate. Alternates do have minimums. It's not published plate minimums, but that'll be for another episode because we can go on the deep end on that. Cool. So I like the route. We're going to keep the route. I like the fuel. I like the alternate. I think everything is good, so we'll go ahead and calculate again. Generate this flight plan. I should probably go and change the departure time. And you always just want to kind of briefly look over the summary, make sure everything looks correct. And also go check your OFP, make sure everything looks correct there. Flight level 340. You can also check that here in the strip. This is the ATC strip. It's 34,000. Looks good. Make sure we got all the fuel that we want. So we got 500 for taxi. We've got 10 minutes of extra. We got 20 minutes of dispatch add. We got our alternate fuel. We got our reserve fuel. Everything looks good. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and change real quick the time of departure. It's now 1:44. So let's say 18, I don't know, 18:15. Maybe we'll get right 18:10. We'll just do that. Generate. And so now that we are done flight planning, y'all know what that means. It is time to jump into the airplane and enact this this flight plan in the airplane, which is what we're all actually really here to see, I would think. But we will definitely be referring to this. Also for today's episode, you know, the Phoenix has the capability of showing you a preliminary load sheet. We're not going to do that. At my company, the pilots are going to take the operational flight plan and they're going to use the information on that to do all their preliminary numbers in the McDo, and then once boarding is complete, then they'll take the actual numbers and replace like their planned zero fuel weight with actual zero fuel weight and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to do for today, just to give a little more context to at least what we do. And every airline's different. Some airlines have different capabilities as far as I don't know, like electronic OFPs. Like as of right now, my company uses paper. I think in the future we're looking at going to electronic pretty soon, and that'll make our lives a lot easier as dispatchers as well as for the pilots. So yeah, so every airline does things different. They have different capabilities and they're approved for different things, and et cetera, et cetera. It's called standard operating procedures, to be vague. But so anyway, so now we got the flight plan file, or the flight plan is planned. I guess the next thing we need to do real quick is we want to plan it, which is a responsibility of the dispatcher. So we're going to go to pre-file. We're going to be flying on VATSIM. And for us, when we go to plan a flight, or I'm sorry, when we go to file a flight, the little area that we're looking at, we have a little button. We go to it. It's called File. And this is what we're going to be looking at. This is what ATC sees. So just want to glance over it quick, make sure everything looks right. We got our departure time of 18:10 in there. We're leaving Denver. We got our route cruising at 34,000 feet, Connor 7, we're under transition, so on and so forth, gap to the Chow 2. It's an hour and 28 minutes en route to Vegas. We got our alternate of St. George, and then all this other stuff is usually pretty automated. It's just going to be like different equipment codes and capabilities of the airplane, da-da-da. It's stuff that we don't really change unless there is like an MEL. Say if we're like, we don't have a transponder and we can't fly RVSM, and like different issues that we could potentially have as far as maintenance stuff with an airplane. Those changes, if it requires an equipment code change, then we would change it here. For example, if we didn't have GPS, we'll get rid of the G. If we couldn't fly RVSM, we'd get rid of the whiskey. There's different things that would change, and the MEL tells you what to do. So I'm not going to get stuck on that, but when we filed the flight plan with ATC, this is what we're seeing. If it looks correct, we just hit send. In SimBrief, obviously a little bit different. You got all these different blocks that you pre-fill. Thankfully, SimBrief pre-fills all this stuff for us, and we don't have to really do it much. The only thing I usually put in, my company is approved for 500 RVR. So like if we're trying to depart and the visibility is really, really bad, I think we need like 500, 500, 500, so touchdown, midpoint, and rollout to be able to depart. But there's also takeoff minimums and different things. It gets a little complicated, and that's a lot of pilot stuff too. It's not as dispatch oriented, but I'll put in 500 here. And other than that, everything else looks correct and it's good. So we'll follow this flight plan. It is filed with VATSIM. We'll move this back on up out the way. And I think it's time that we finally get into the airplane and go take a flight. So, turn the music up a little bit, give it a little bit of ambiance. And we already did our walk around. We did the walk around at the very beginning. So now we'll just go into the airplane. I wish they'd make jet bridges better where you could like see all the way through it. So boom, we're on the plane. The airplane's cold and dark. Nobody's on board yet, obviously. So let's just go get in the plane and get in our seat here at Wrong Side Simulations. For those of you who are new to the channel, Wrong Side Simulations equals we fly from what a lot of people would consider the wrong side. Most people want to be captain, and just kind of looking through the chat, I see a lot of captains. Nothing wrong with captain. I'm just not a captain. I'm an FO. So wrong side. Here we are. We're sitting in the first officer's chair, and we'll just go ahead and go through our steps of getting the flight out of the gate. I'm not gonna I don't know what you call it, narrate too heavily on the whole I don't know, like setup and all that kind of stuff. If y'all want to see really good setup videos and like real in depth and like stuff that's like super real, go check out V1 Simulations. I'm sure every one of y'all know him. Incredible videos. We will be doing briefs, checklists, and flows. I might narrate some of that. They are not 100% accurate. I think by the time I kind of got the flows down at my company, they went and changed them a little bit, and I was like, I'm not about to go, relearn stuff. Mine works totally fine for flight sim, so I'm just kind of doing my own little version of flows, but they are based off of some pretty much the real flows, at least at my company. So, without further ado, let's get it going. Alrighty, battery 1, battery 2, we all know this stuff. We've all seen a gajillion Airbus videos. So just going to roll through it quick. Guess we got to wait a sec. Yeah, come back to that. Boom. Nope. That's what the problem with the scroll wheel. Oh wait, and it probably would help too if I turn the sound back up. Sweet. Alright, boom, boom, boom. And just kind of check and make sure everything is how it's supposed to be. Put this in auto. Cool. Maybe now we can do that CVR test. There we go. Sweet. Alrighty, so now let's get to the nitty gritty and start getting this airplane programmed while we wait for the ADIRs to align. I want to look at sort of data. So I'm not sure if I messed up the aligning process whenever I took ADIRs 1 or whatever to ATT. So it looks like nope, IRS 1 is not aligning. So let's turn that back off. In fact, let's just go ahead and recycle all of them just to be on the safe side. And now we can go back to aligning them. Making sure I don't hit that scroll wheel too hard. Sweet, there we go. So we got this up in status. Telling us it's got 8 minutes. We can also tell on the upper ECAM it's got greater than 7, If you want to know exactly how long, you can either refer to here or go to data into the IRS and it'll tell you exactly. So, let's see. Sim brief. Bring this down. Actually, I don't bring anything down because now you can just see it. Alrighty. Hopefully, y'all can see that pretty well. Going to first init the flight. Often we'll have issues in dispatch where if the captain hasn't initialized the flight yet, it might still have all of the old info from the previous inbound flight, and that'll confuse us because we're looking at the flight number and we're like, hey, I don't have this flight 203. But then it also shows us a tail number, so I can go look. I'm like, all right, tail number 697, which is what this flight's going to be. 697 is assigned to flight 204 now. Oh, okay, so the captain must have not initialized the flight yet. So sometimes they'll send us an ACARS before they init, and we haven't reinitialized, so then yeah, you can get a little confused, but there's ways to cross-check it. Cool, so we're going to initialize. Very important we do this first. Pow. There we go. We got flight 204, Denver, Vegas, St. George. The alternate estimated time en route is 1 hour and 28 minutes. And from here, we'll just go straight into our diff strip flow, which is kind of the flow for the McDo. So let's get AC status, make sure our nav data is current. It is. Init. Get all this stuff thrown in there. How are the sounds, guys? Make sure y'all can hear me, all that kind of stuff. I'm not the best master at the sounds. Flight number November Kilo Sierra 204. Cost index we're flying. Our OFP says we're flying 5. Now cost index is going to be based off of we try to make a performance requirement for the DOT. So if we can land within 14 minutes of a scheduled time of arrival, that is like we have landed on time in the eyes of the Department of Transportation. So the software is set up, at least in real life, to where it will adjust the cost index to try to make it within that 14-minute window. And you know, if we're running a little bit behind, or say we got some strong headwinds, it will increase that CI. So the higher the CI number, the faster the plane will fly, but also you're going to burn a lot more gas. So if you plan your flight CI 5 and you put in CI 99, you're going to burn a lot more gas than you would if you flew your planned CI. SimBrief just changes CI, but it can't be very realistic in the way that it does it because there's not a scheduled time of arrival for it to try to make. So CI is just kind of whatever. If you just want to fly fast, put it at CI 99. That's what most do. I do believe that V-Spirit says to fly this one at CI 15, but we're just going to leave it at CI 5. But again, the higher the number, the faster you fly. It's on a range from 0 to 999, but pretty much everybody's just going to be operating between 0 and 99. Oftentimes, too, if there is like a thunderstorm at the destination and I got a flight en route and they're kind of a ways out, I'll tell them, say, hey, slow to CI 0 so that ATC can try to get these other guys in and let the weather move off the field, Just gives us time to let the issue get sorted out before they get down there. Also, it saves them gas because they're flying slower, and that will ultimately give us more gas if we need to hold. So that's kind of CI in a nutshell. We're flying CI 5. I think most pilots, if they see CI 5, they're like, I just want to fly fast. Why can't we just fly fast? And we're cruising at a flight level of 340. Now we need to get our temperature. Usually I believe it will take the either the coldest temperature en route or an average. And this one says at 340 it's going to be minus 46. So we'll do minus 46. I believe ROFP will show coldest temperature. Oh, here we go. Coldest en route fuel temperature is minus 19 Celsius at gap. That's weird because minus 46 is far colder. So I don't know if I believe that. Oh yeah, the other thing I forgot to show y'all. This is worth, I guess, showing you because we do this for every single flight. So we'll just get rid of, let's just do this and move this back down here. This is very important in a way. This is more of a company thing, but the company really wants to see this. So they want to know, as well as the pilots need to know, what the fuel is for and the strategy behind the flight. And I forgot to do this, but it's very quick. So when we were planning this and we were talking about it, we did 10 minutes for a possible mountain wave. We did 10 minutes for possible gusty winds at ETA, as well as a precautionary alternate because of the gusty winds. So we want to tell the pilots that. So we're going to tell ourselves that. But there's always a remark section on the OFP, and this is where the dispatcher would tell the pilots what the idea was behind the flight plan. And sometimes, something may happen, or company might do an audit and just kind of go through the flight plan and say, oh, this dispatcher put 20 minutes of gas. What is the gas for? And they look at the remarks and they read them, like, okay, that's what the gas was for. Cool. Sip of coffee real quick. Cold brew. So, let's say, dispatch add fuel for possible light, occasional moderate mountain wave over the eastern frontal range, as well as possible gusty winds at ETA. Precautionary alternate for possible gusty winds and low level wind shear at ETA. No en route weather, because you also want to tell them the other good stuff. I don't just like to tell them the problems. I want to tell them the good stuff, so they know at least I checked it, and they don't have to worry about it themselves. So no en route weather and low arrival rate at ETA. So that way they know that I checked all that stuff, and if there's something they see that they're worried about, but then they read the remarks, like, okay, cool, the dispatcher accounted for that. Let's rock and roll. So we'll generate. So now we'll just get this back up here, and then we'll do this again. Alright, so back to the OFP. Now that we've regenerated and added the remarks, we got our remarks right here. So dispatch add fuel, possible light occasional moderate turbulence, or a moderate mountain wave over the eastern frontal range, as well as possible gusty winds, We just talked about it, so I don't have to read it. But that does need to be on the OFP. And like maybe if you ever want to plan a flight for your friend who's going to do a flight sim flight, you can do this for them and let them know what's going on. Or let's see, sorry I'm ignoring the chat so much. I have a lot to say in this one, I guess. So let me get going, and then we'll do all the chatting in the world. So we got our cruise altitude, we got our temperature. Now we need to put in the triple pause. See, triple it should be, in real life it would be 5 digits. It's not going to be 3. But this one says flight level 53,700 feet. So we'll do 53755, make it look real. Pow. Triple pause is where there's the temperature inversion is at, I believe, if that's the way that the pilots consider it. But anyways, at the triple pause, it starts going from cold temperatures and it starts warming up above. Usually that's also where thunderstorms thunderstorms can't get any higher than the triple pause because of the temperature inversion. So as the thunderstorm builds and it grows and gets higher, once it reaches that triple pause, it starts to kind of anvil out. So if you ever look up in the sky and you see a cloud doing this and just kind of expanding laterally, that's because the triple pause is stopping it from getting any higher. It's a fun little fact for you whenever you look up in the sky. Now, let's put in our route. So Denver, departing off runway 25. At least that's what's planned. We are on the Connor 7. We're in a transition. Insert. We'll already have the Zachary waypoint that's in the middle. And so then we'll just go to Vegas, arrival, and we're going to plan on, let's see, we're looking for 19 left. It's going to be an RNAV approach. I just don't know if it's going to be GPS or RMP. So it's the Yankee. We'll do GPS. Because we can do LNAV, at least at my company, we're approved for LNAV, VNAV, and LNAV approaches. We're not approved. Actually, I think we are approved for, what is it? I think it's LPV. We can't do, or something else. I can't remember. Most of the time we're trying to plan ILSs, because that's kind of the easiest. But for today, we're going to be planning the RNAV runway, or RNAV Yankee runway 19 left. LNAV, VNAV is what we'll be using more than likely. Cool. So Yankee. So we'll grab a Yankee, see 19 left, that's Victor. There's Yankee, RNAV Yankee 19 left, so we'll select that. And we are on the Chow 2. gap transition insert, and let's check for any discons. There's gap. And then from here, this is the end of the star, and it's going to be like vectors to final for the most part. So we'll just leave that there for now, and we'll discuss that more en route. Just keep on going down. Everything else looks good. Sweet. Secondary flight plan, you can put in whatever your engine fail procedure is. We'll just wing it. So go back to secondary, copy active, and I don't know, we'll just say at tavern, we'll plan a hold. Just do computed. Rad nav, some departures, especially if it's not an RNAV departure, if it's like a if you're departing using vectors off of, or headings like off of a nav aid, something like that, you can hard tune that here. So if we wanted to, we could hard tune the Denver VOR. We'll put that. You know it's hard tuned because it's big. If it's small, then it's just going to do auto. See, after that, we're going to go back to init, tab over to the init B page, and we're going to put in our 0 fuel weight and a standard just 30 degrees on the CG, or 30% on the CG, because that's usually just a standard. We'll put in the actual once we get it from the EFB. So our planned 0 fuel weight is 135.4. So we kind of round it up. So we'll go 135.4/30. And again, this number will change. Put that here. Our planned block fuel, so it's going to be the total amount of fuel, is going to be 19.2. Putting that in there. And now we're going to do our taxi fuel. So we planned 500 pounds for taxi. Route reserve, I'm pretty sure this is going to be more of a, it's going to be more used for like a flag fuel policy. So if we were flying to a far international airport, because there's what constitutes a flag fuel policy is dictated by an airline's operation specifications. So that's going to change. We can talk about that more in another video. But for domestic flights, we're just going to put 0. Our alternate is St. George again, and the burn is 3,300 pounds. So we'll go 3.3. Final time, this is going to be the reserve. Our reserve fuel is 3.9. Drop that in there. And it should display our extra fuel down here. But one other thing that we need to do is go back to our net page and uplink our winds. Should have done that from the get-go. I don't know how the Phoenix is really calculating all this stuff, so I like to go put in my route first and then do my winds after. But I'm not really sure how it's doing it. So back over. Now that we've uplinked our winds, for some reason this says that we're going to have, let's see, 4 point. So, says our trip fuel, so our burn from Denver to Vegas on the planned route is 4,100 pounds. And our OFP says it's 8,600 pounds. More than double. So I'm not really sure what that's about. So it definitely shouldn't be that. And you can't change this number, it's green. If we try to put it in 8.6, it's not going to let us. Nope. See? So we're just kind of at the mercy. But we'll come back to this and see what it says once we get en route. Maybe those numbers will change. So last but not least would be performance, but we want to wait until we get our actual numbers before we run performance. So now we'll come down to our EFB, and we'll just do an instant board so we can get going. Yeah, and we'll test our oxygen. And if we have a jump seater, test theirs too. Cool, it's good. And we'll move this out the way for now. Should be pretty much done with the OFP for the most part. There'll be some things we're going to reference. Sweet, so let's go ahead and import the sim brief. You could definitely do this before you start programming the McDo if you want to go through the whole boarding process, but since we're not, we're supposed to be out here in 3 minutes. Goodness. Before we start that, let's go start our APU. And let's do an APU fire test before we start it. Looks good. Sweet. Get that rolling. So we do have to do a 3-minute APU warm-up before turning on the bleed. Now, let's get our, so we uploaded, that's cool, blah, 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 sweet. Mass and balance, and load aircraft, instant. We'll do the same for packs too. I do like to extend the flight time a little bit because it doesn't always consider, like your flight plan doesn't consider some of the vectoring part of your flying. So I like to extend this out just a little bit. We'll just add 10 minutes to that. And time until takeoff. Next. Change the airplane type. We don't have aircraft. We don't have Wi-Fi on this airplane, and it's 173. Whatever, that'll work. Cool. So now we're boarded up. We got our fuel on board, so now we can turn on the seatbelt sign and turn on our fuel pumps. And we can go ahead and do an engine fire test too. Engine 1's good. Engine 2's good. Sweet. Alright, so now that we are boarded up, we should have our load sheet, which is our actual load sheet. And that's the one that you really want. You don't want your preliminary, you want the actual. Our preliminary stuff is already in here. So load sheets, and this looks like a prelim. Let's go back over here at resend load sheet. This always seems like it takes a minute. There we go. So this is actual. All the numbers are kind of condensed into like 133.4 versus like 133.562, something like that. So our actual zero fuel weight is 133.4. We plan for 135.4, so we are about 2,000 pounds less, so that will help us with the burns. So we'll put that in 133.4 slash, and then we're going to come down to page 2 and get our zero fuel weight CG. So MAC zero fuel weight, that is your zero fuel weight CG, and it is just slightly different. It's 30.1. Throw that into there. Cool. Coming back over to the EFB, let's get our takeoff performance. Planning to depart off runway 25. It's dry. Turn this brightness up so y'all can see it. And let's plug in our charger too. Yesterday my airplane sat without any power for almost 2 hours and my EFB was almost dead. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Cool, so let's continue on with this. We're going to go with the optimum flight configuration. No toga, anti-ice will be off. We'll turn the packs on. Use the, we can hit these little buttons quick. Otherwise, if you wanted to, we could go to our load sheet and get our actual takeoff weight and all that stuff, but it's just easier to, you know, hit the button. Sweet. And then we got temperature, altimeter. Cool. We'll calculate that. While that's calculating, let's come back over here and let's finish setting up the airplane. We do have tower on. I need to connect to VATSIM. Wherever it's going to pop up at. Connect. Alright. I think tower was on here yesterday. So can I get a digital ADIS or no? Sweet. Alright, info Bravo, 1753, wind 040 at 12, 10 statute miles, feet 9,000, feet 12,000, temperature 29, dew point is 14, altimeter is 3028. Let's get that in there. I wonder how many times I've said, let's get that in there. And that is done. Let's also get our top altitude on our SID. 230. Maybe they'll send us a PDC. It'd be nice. Alrighty, so we should have our takeoff performance. in real life, this actually takes a little bit of time to calculate. This would be done through ACARS. Actually, I take that back. I think our pilot group now does have an app kind of like this. They put in different factors and they get their performance. It's gonna be a flaps 1 takeoff. Perf, flaps 1. Flex up 58. V speeds 45, 46, 47. And then our thrust reduction, acceleration, climb altitudes, and engine out, acceleration, climb altitude. 63, 60. Put that in here, and then 63, 60. Cool. So our takeoff performance is set and ready. We'll bring this back. We turned the APU on for it's been running for a hot minute now, so we've had that 3 minutes, but typically you would wait to see APU available, start the timer, run the timer for 3 minutes before turning on the bleed. Had it 3 minutes, we'll turn the bleed on, disconnect external power, and I think we're just pretty much about ready to go. We'll hit up ATC. Since we are done boarding, shut the door, let our jump seater take a seat. So he's doing an observation ride, and I'm just gonna kill these lights real quick. One thing that I do want to know before getting out of this page is my MAC tow, which is my takeoff weight CG. It's gonna be 29.0. Put this in here just to reference. Back to flight plan. Flight directors are on, constraints are on both sides. Looks good there. And now we just need to get some doors closed. So you should start seeing all that closed. I got it up on my EFB down here. Just before we turn that on, I'm gonna grab real quick. Alright, so I'm going to try my best on a departure brief. But, before we do, let's call ATC. So tower's on 32, 35. And you'll see how long all this is taking. This is why you got dispatchers to knock out the paperwork, make all those decisions. So the pilots just get the paperwork and get to doing their thing. Alrighty. Different tower, Spirit Wings 204 looking for IFR over to Las Vegas with information Bravo, I believe it was. Correct.
Good afternoon, Spirit Wings 204, Denver Tower, welcome. You're clear to McCarran International Airport, Connor 7 departure, Warner transition, then is filed. Climb via SID, departures offline, squawk 1405.
We're clear to the Vegas Airport via the Connor 7, Warner transition, then is filed. We'll climb via the SID, and everybody else is offline. Our squawks will be 1405 for Spirit Wings 204.
Spirit Wings 204, reback correct. Expect runway 34 right for departure. Advise when ready for push and start. Thank you.
Roger that. We'll plan for runway 34 right. And what was that again? We're clear for push and start, correct?
Correct. Spirit Wings 204.
Roger that. Here we go. Denver. All right. So now they swapped our runway on us. Now I got to rerun our departure or our performance. 34 right, Connor 7, Warner transition, insert, done. Easy, but as again, thanks to the Airbus being an awesome airplane, lets us know to check that takeoff data. So let's go do that real fast. And we'll just swap it on over to 34 right, calculate. Alright, still it's going to be flaps 1. Flex is 57. I gotta clear this back out. 57. 45, 46, 47. Still. Done. Alright, so that's that. That's taken care of. Now real quick before we go, be departure brief and before start checklist. So this is going to be a right seat takeoff. It's a 320 for tail strike avoidance. There's no MELs or CDLs that affect the performance of the aircraft. It's going to be a single engine taxi. Our taxi route will likely be Charlie Sierra Foxtrot 1 to 34 right. Weather's no factor. Terrain is a factor. We do have the Rocky Mountains off to our west. No hot spots, no runways to cross. After or before V1, it'll be my decision to reject the takeoff. We'll come to a complete stop, set the parking brakes, call the flight sensor stations. We'll call for any ECOM actions or the emergency evacuation checklist as required. After V1, we're going to fly the engine out procedure, which is to go and hold at whatever random fix we chose. I believe it was Tavern. Go to the secondary just to confirm that. And yes, Tavern is where we would go and hold and deal with our issue. We'll speed up, clean up, engine out. Altitude is going to be 6360. As far as our weights, we're currently, our planned takeoff weight is 154. We should be 152 now. In fact, we can go to Atsu and get that actual. This is one of those kind of things you probably just write it down. So our takeoff weight's correct. See, bow, math, 152, which is over our max landing weight of 145.5. Therefore, if we have to come back, it will be an overweight landing, and that would require a maintenance inspection. And our landing runway would probably be 34 left, if I had to guess. If all goes as well, we're going to climb on the Connor 7, our top altitude 23,000 feet, and we are squawking 1405. So let's get that in there. See why you do. I would have forgotten that had I not been running that brief. Sweet. So that's in. Now, before start, checklist. Maintenance log tells onboard check, cover pets complete, gear pins, covers are removed, signs are on and auto, ADIRs are in nav. And again, if you want to check that and make sure that they are in nav, you can go to IRS monitor. There you go. The perf back up, flight plan back up. Let's see. Fuel, min required, is 17.7, so that's how much we have to have on the airplane when we take the runway. And on board, we've got 19.2. Altimeters, 3028. Let's cross-check with that new Addons that came out. It is, yep, still 3028. EFB is checked. Windows, doors, and slides are closed and on. Beacons on. Thrust levers are in idle. Parking brake is on and transponder is in auto. Before start checklist is complete. Alright, so we are ready to go. Let's just get... Now I know Phoenix says, hey, don't be using old pushback toolbar. But for me, it's worked just fine. Hopefully it continues to work since we're streaming. There we go. Request.
Cockpit to ground. This is ground. Stand by.
And they'll do their thing. Typically, it's good to go ahead and get that rolling, and then we can do briefs and checklists. And by the time we're done, those guys are hooked up and ready to go. But you can tell there's a lot to do. There's times that you have to you just have to have good time management. And obviously, if I were a real pilot, I'd be a lot better at this. And usually I'm a little bit better at it when I'm not trying to do the flight planning stuff, showing y'all that. But yeah, so like you want to, if you know you're just about done boarding, you want to go ahead and get that APU fired up, let it run for 3 minutes, get the APU bleed on. Like have everything ready to go when it's time to go. But we are going to be delayed. So far we're 11 minutes late. Once we get airborne, I'm going to jump back to the chat. And again, my apologies for not being in the chat so much. But after last night's episode, people want to see the flight planning, so I wanted to get that in there and There's a lot to say. Alright, so brakes released, they're clear to push. We want to start the block time.
Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence. It will start in the sequence.
Alrighty, so we've been clear to start. Engine mode, selector to ignition, and we'll fire up engine number 1. It's going to be a pretty short taxi. We should really start the second engine. B-Spirit gives more points for a single engine taxi, so we're going to try to do a single engine. Oh, we got a good start on 1. We'll wait till the tug gets us stopped, then we'll go through our after start flow. Parking brake set. We are running FS realistic, so you'll see the cockpit kind of moving around. That engine moving does slightly move the plane. It kind of wiggles a little bit, so you can kind of see it moving. So in real life, when you're sitting in the cockpit, that's maybe about as much as you can hear the flight attendants. I usually turn mine down so it's realistic, because you don't hear the flight attendants yelling in your ear, especially in your headset. Alright, so after start flow. Engine mode selected normal. Arm spoilers, reset rotor trim, flaps to 1. Our takeoff trim was 29.0. It'll be just slightly down. And then TA. It's going to be single engine taxi. It's going to get yellow electric pump comes on, APU stays on. Now, after start checklist, engine anti-ice is off, yellow electric pump is on, and rotor trim is 0. After start checklist is complete on that. Now we're ready to taxi. Let's do that. Denver Tower, Spirit Wings 204, ready taxi, runway 34 right with Bravo.
Spirit Wings 204, push and start approved to the first line. Advise when ready to taxi.
And we are ready to taxi. We are just off the gate on close to Charlie Sierra and ready to taxi over to 34 right.
Spirit Wings 204, runway 34 right, taxi via Charlie Sierra, Foxtrot 1, Denver altimeter 3028.
Alright, we'll taxi over 34 right via Charlie Sierra, Foxtrot 1, altimeter 3028, Spirit Wings 204. Alright, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Brakes released. Take a little bit of thrust to get the plane rolling. Alright, so after we start engine 2, we have to go with a 3-minute engine warm-up. So I'm going to go ahead and get number 2 rolling. Probably wouldn't, in real life, you wouldn't turn off, you wouldn't want to start your second engine right now. You need that yellow electric pump to make these turns. To pressurize the yellow hydraulic system so you have noticeable steering. And you usually want to do that on a straightaway. So disregard what I just did right there. We'd want to do it like going straight. We'll try to do all this on the roll, but it's not very easy. And good start on 2. Starting the timer, and then the same thing. After start, flow, engine mode set to normal, spoilers are armed, reset rotor trim, flaps 1, trim is set, we're in TA, cool. Yellow pump is off, shut down the APU, good to go with that. After start checklist, engine ice is off, yellow pump is now off, rotor trim 0, after start checklist is complete. Now we can do a little mini brief. If this, why is it not moving? Did I lose my FMS looking McDo? Alright, whatever. Departing off runway 34 right, our gross weight's 152.4. We got 19.1 on board. Flap configs 1 plus F. V1 is 145, V2 is 147. We're flexing 57, and our initial climb is, first constraint would be 10,000 feet. Top altitude is 23,000 feet, and our first fix is foams. Flight control check. Why did I lose my little McDo quick view? Anyways, flight controls check. Full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, rudder, full left, full right, neutral. Now the other pilot would be actually the FO. Whoops, hit that button. Would do there silently. Creeping on this taxi. Sweet, flight controls check is complete. Before takeoff flow, weather radar, predicted wind shear. We are already on TARA. Auto brake max. Status page check. TO config. All green, looks good. Let the flight attendants know. Flight attendants be seated for departure. And bam. Alright, now let's pick up the speed. Really took our time on that one. The guy's probably wondering what in the hell. We still need that 3-minute engine warm-up. We're at 2 minutes. By the time we get to the runway, we should be good. It's going to be a right turn on Fox and a left turn on Fox 1. But I hope everybody is enjoying this. This is about as in-depth as I can try to make all this stuff for you. So if you are liking the content, please smash that like and subscribe button. Greatly appreciated. Definitely helps the algorithm. And again, for all of y'all who made the podcast last night, hope y'all enjoyed it. It was a hell of a lot of fun for me to share my story and what I do, and just so grateful for the opportunity that Blu and XP afforded me. I think Blu is streaming right now. I know he was streaming when we first started. We're taking so long to get off the ground. They're probably done with this flight by now. Alright, before takeoff, checklist to the line. Gross weight comparison complete. Pitch trim is 29% CG set V1 VRP2 flex. Oh my gosh, I need that view. 145, 146, 147 flex, 57 flaps config 1 plus F. Flight instruments are checked. Flight controls are checked. ECM memo takeoff all green. ECM status is checked. And again, ECM memo is all green. ECM status checked. Predicted wind shear is on auto. TCAS code set. TARA. Cabin crew advised. Mini briefs complete before takeoff to the line is done. We are clear left, and we are clear right. We got our 3-minute warm up. Kill that timer. And again, clear left, clear right. Your average taxi speed in an Airbus max is going to be 30. Probably don't want to taxi that fast. You want to be taking your turns around 10 knots ground speed. So yeah, on your straightaways you can get a little bit faster. I'll usually go about 20 on the straightaways whenever I'm not, trying to kill time with these timers and stuff like that. And then take the turns a little bit slower. It's probably going to clear us pretty quick, so let's get those lights on.
Spirit Wings 204, wind 050 at 12. RNAV to phones, runway 34 right, cleared for takeoff.
RNAV phones cleared for takeoff, runway 34 right, Spirit Wings 204. Thanks for hanging out during this real slow taxi.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Alright, last part of the checklist real quick. Below the line takeoff runway is 34 right, and it is confirmed by the sign out there as well as the paint on the ground. Fuel, min required, dang, I can't see anymore. My charts are covering it up. Min required is 17.7. We got 18.9 on board. Engine mode selector is normal. And pack state, can't even remember it. There we go. Oh yeah, engine mode selector is normal. Bleed packs are set. Before takeoff checklist, load line is complete. We're ready. Clear on the approach, which I hope, because we might be in a bad spot. And we'll just make a little rolling takeoff. Man, flex SRS runway Arthur's blue. Hey, crap, that's 60 knots. Over jumping the gun. 8 knots door set. So we need 2 pilots. Neutral by 100. V1, hand on rudder trim in case we lose an engine. Positive rate gear up. Nav, disarm spoilers. A little windy. 400 feet and we're turning. Acceleration climb altitude, climb, we're going to nose down, let the aircraft accelerate. Positive turn on the airspeed. Thrust climb.
Spirit Wings 204, departures offline. Frequency changed approved to Unicom. Thanks for flying Denver airspace and have a great flight.
Over to Unicom, and you have a great day as well. We appreciate your service. Spirit Wings 204. Alright, flaps up, speed checks.
Thank you again.
Up. It is windy. I like to make a little PFD view so I can always see those flight directors nice and clear if I need to. Man, we're getting kicked around. And it's likely with the gusty winds and the mountainous terrain that's nearby, you'll get some rolling wind effects off those mountains. And once we get to 10,000 feet, we'll turn on autopilot and get back into the chat, answer your questions. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. People are still hanging out. Gonna have an altitude constraint coming up, 10,000 feet. Speed alt constraint, or speed alt star rather. go. Autopilot 2. (10,000 feet). Lights off. And 2, when you take off, typically turn off the runway turn off lights and the taxi light as soon as you are gear up, but you know, hand flying. And let the flight attendants know we're at 10,000. All constraints. And we're back to climb. Thrust, climb, climb. And after takeoff checklist, usually whenever flaps up is commanded, it would be speed checks flaps up, and then the pilot monitoring would do their after takeoff checklist silently, but we'll do it aloud just for y'all. So after takeoff checklist, landing gear is up, flaps are tracked, lead packs are set, APU is off. After takeoff checklist complete. What does this say? Speed limit exceeded. Maybe I'm in trouble. Don't care. Draw 5. We'll save that. There we go. Alright, so back to the chat. I've been ignoring you guys for far too long. Let's see. Captain Dispatch. Don't forget the alternate has to be approved as an alternate in the
Denver Tower, very good afternoon to you. Frontier Flight 581. I for clearance over to John Lane with information Bravo.
So yep, and in fact I think we did say that, like we talked about that shortly after. But yes, you're absolutely correct. It has to be an approved alternate in the op specs, whether it's going to be a fueling airport. Come on, bro. Fueling airport, alternate airport, or a regular airport. Those three. What's the other one? I think provisional. That would be listed in your op specs. As long as it is listed in the op specs, you can list it as an alternate. It doesn't have to be like the airport itself doesn't have to be strictly an alternate. Let's see. Hello, everyone. Just got out of the chair. How are you? On my way, Mr. Dispatch pilot, sir. I'm going to use this guide for my flight planning when I'm not flying for my VA. Well, you can still chase whenever when you're doing your flying for the VA. A lot of what we were doing would still apply. In fact, we're flying for Virtual Spirit right now. So other than like some maybe the passengers and a few things like that that might change, you would still use all these general rules as like what you need to do for your flight planning. Unless like your VA says they want an alternate for every single flight, then there you go. EQ, let's see, we got past this. How is wrong side not flipping out yet? Cat Mitchell, hope you're still around. Sorry for taking so daggone long, but welcome aboard. Happy to see you. Squirrely, freaking Friday and work is bothering me when there is an informative stream. Well, that's why God made the playback, right? Just transition altitude. Standard. At this time we could unplug our, not unplug, we could take off our headset, switch to the speakers, and kind of kick back and relax. If we were in the real airplane, but we're not. I wish these footrests did move. Like I know it's so not important for a flight sim, but immersion, right? Like first thing I'm gonna do if I were an Airbus FO right now, we just cross the transition. I'm gonna lean my seat back a little bit and prop my feet up on the footrests. But these footrests, like they kick down. Probably don't want your feet that close to the screens. Recite the FARFC. No. Give me those sticks. What's up, dude? Happy to see you. Welcome aboard as always. Rio, congrats EQ. Our dispatch job's pretty centralized in one location. I see a bunch of them are in Florida. So there's different kinds of dispatch jobs. There are like Part 135, which is your charter type jobs. A lot of different stuff going on there compared to like an airline dispatcher. Charter dispatchers they'll plan the flight, but they're not going to really flight follow or inform the pilot of anything once they're airborne. That's all going to be on the pilot after that, once they're airborne. But that dispatcher's also like crew scheduling. They're calling hotels. They're making sure they got a hotel and they got a ride to the hotel and like da-da-da. So a lot more going on there than an airline dispatcher. Airline dispatchers work at the HQ for the most part of the airline that they work for. So like if you're a Delta dispatcher, you're in Atlanta. If you're American or Southwest, you're in Dallas. If you're Frontier, you're in Denver. Who else? Yeah, JetBlue's in Queens, New York, and United is in Chicago. Yeah. So at the airlines, you're typically working at the HQ. Some airlines have like an operational control center, which is the office that dispatchers work in. They'll have those. They can have them in like separate cities from the HQ. So we got 34 blue. So anytime you change the altitude, you want to confirm it on the PFD. So 34 blue, confirm it on the captain's side. 34 blue, make that call out. Yeah. So usually you're going to be working wherever the airline is based, or wherever they're located, where the HQ is located, and it doesn't really deviate outside of that. Some airlines like have dispatchers, well, I guess especially like 135, those guys can have dispatchers working from home. But any Part 121 scheduled air carrier operations, they're going to have dispatchers at an office, because we also do get randomly drug tested and stuff like that. We can't drink, 8 hours before the shift. So, if we were working from home, like we could be, smoking a doobie, something like that. So Part 121 dispatchers never really get to work from home. But for the most part, I think that should probably answer your question. There's just so many different types of dispatch jobs, and there's so many different like 135 companies, and there's cargo companies. Some that are big, some are small. Like I know there's a like National Air Cargo. They're relatively small. They're in Orlando. They're kind of all over the place, but it's like the type of dispatcher that most would probably want to be would be an airline dispatcher, because that's where you're going to make the most money, have the best schedule, that kind of stuff. You get to ride in the cockpit, you get flight benefits, and etc. So for the most part, those guys are going to be working wherever the airline is based. Ninja Man 344. Also, I'm new here. Hey everyone, Ninja Man, welcome aboard if you're still around after all this long-winded talk of mine. But welcome. Very happy to have you here, and hopefully I can earn your subscription, and hope to see you in other future Wrong Side live streams. So very happy that you were enjoying the in-depth explanation of all this stuff. Like I said last night on the podcast, I barely scratched the surface on flight dispatch. Well, this is very informative. I'm not sure if you already covered it or not, but how do you decide your flight number when simming? Base it off real-world flight numbers or what? Like when I'm like today, we're flying off of V-Spirit, as well as I'm running a pilot's life parallel to V-Spirit. So I generate my flight schedule with the pilot's life, and then I'll take that flight number and make that the flight number in both V-Spirit and like I'll put it in SimBrief. If I'm not flying V-Spirit, then I don't really care. Call signs are just whatever. You can be whatever you want, So, I know a lot of people try to be ultra realistic and fly like the real world flight, but really the call sign is so unimportant. And even like at the airlines, we can change call signs. Like if we have let's say we were supposed to operate this flight, and for whatever reason, like now we have to repo the airplane to Las Vegas. Say the flight canceled, now we're just repositioning the airplane to Vegas. Well, now that call sign is going to change from Spirit 204 to a repo call sign, and every airline has their own set of reposition, maintenance ferry call signs, stuff like that. So it like for Spirit, I believe theirs is like 88 something, so this would be like an 8804 call sign, or 8801, whatever. Call signs are just whatever. You can make them whatever you want. For me, if it's V-Spirit, I'll go somewhat realistic, or I'll just go with whatever it says. If I'm flying anybody else, then usually like my fallback is just like whatever airline call sign, so like Southwest, and then 2541. I don't know why, but my mouth likes 2541, so that's kind of just what I do. Man, my watch keeps telling me to move, and it's getting on my nerves. Direct list. Hey, found you from Blu-Xperience show. Currently waiting for my medical from FAA, but if I don't make it, then I'll be looking in dispatch. So thank you so much. That is awesome. And that's exactly why I went on the show and wanted to share my story, is for that kind of scenario. You know, for some people it's medical. On my case, I just couldn't pay for flight training. So, you know, dispatch was the next best thing. My dad was a police officer at the 3rd lowest paid police department in the States. My mom got into a car wreck and couldn't work. So, like, you know, I was only, 21 at the time. And I know there's people that somehow they find ways to make it. But the VA was offering to pay for dispatch. I was like, hey, let's do that. How do you like Spirit? How does it compare to other virtual airlines? So I've flown virtual Delta, and then I've started flying virtual Spirit. And honestly, there's like 2 main reasons, well, maybe 3 main reasons why I went to virtual Spirit. I still have the Delta virtual. I'll still fly them. But I used to do virtual Delta because it would allow you to fly multiple different airlines. So you weren't just bound to just Delta. You could fly pretty much everybody, and I really liked that, so I flew them for a long time. But then, you know, we got to Phoenix. I like the Airbus is my airplane. Like, that's what, since I dispatch Airbuses, that's what I know. It's my specialty, and I do, you know, the flows, checklists, and briefings and whatever. So, like, I kind of wanted to focus on Airbus, and then all the payware airports that I have, I noticed are like very heavily in the Spirit schedule. So like, well, that kind of aligns. So like, at least if I'm flying for a virtual airline, I'll be flying into payware airports instead of default airports. Yeah, I guess that's the main reason kind of why I went. And then on top of that, they have the Hoppy functionality. So you'll see as we get closer, we're going to get an ACARS message from V-Spirit. It's going to tell us where to park. Like, haven't seen that anywhere else. So those are the 3 main reasons why I went to V-Spirit. I really like it. I like the interface. It's really great. I've talked to the devs a little bit. We've got 1,000 to go. I've talked to the devs a little bit. Awesome people, and they got some really good plans for the virtual airlines that they want to implement. So, so far I'm really liking it. I think this is our 16th or 17th flight that we've conducted for V-Spirit. So far I'm really enjoying it. It looks like Chase is like the expert on the virtuals. He's flying all of them. Spirit, Southwest, Delta, FedEx. Alright, here we are. So we are into cruise. Looks like just some light chop so far. Not much of an issue. You know, if this was real world, we'd be listening to Center, and we could get some ride reports out ahead. So if we weren't really sure what the rides were going to be like, I'll call it star. And you'll always hear me, like, I might stop talking and I'll read out, you know, the stuff off the enunciator or whatever it's called. So if you hear me do that, that's what I'm doing. That's our company's SOPs. Alt cruise. So in real world, if we weren't sure what the rides are like up ahead, we just pop in and say Salt Lake Center, Spirit Wings 204, any ride reports out ahead of us, and then they'll just tell us what they've been hearing from other pilots. And if there are some like bad rides ahead, we'll say, hey, you know, we're hearing that, you know, rides are kind of rough at lower altitudes, but where you're at, you should be good all the way. All right, cool. Plus, pilots can go on down to their ATSU and send a text to their dispatcher and say, hey, how are rides looking ahead? Are we good to stay here, or do we need to, you know, go lower, go higher? But usually that's only going to be prompted if they start getting some bad rides. So yeah, so far rides have been relatively smooth, maybe some light chop. So we're going to turn that seatbelt sign off. In fact, I think I forgot to turn it on in PAX. Yeah. We took off in packs with the seatbelt sign off, so we're definitely going to get dinged for that. I get hit with that all the time because, you know, in my mind, seatbelt sign's on, but in packs, it's not. Hopefully they update packs and make it where this will turn the seatbelt sign on, because I'm really tired of missing that. Let's see, what else we got? Currently flying with American Virtual, really liking it, but always looking for something different to change up the routes a bit. Yeah, and that's one thing. In fact, it's kind of funny. With a pilot's life, I was flying for American on a pilot's life before I came to Spirit, and essentially I took a pay cut coming to Spirit on a pilot's life. I think I was making like 47, 48 a pilot or a flight hour. Now I'm making like 41, 42, but it's worth it. I mean, I don't really care about the money stuff because it's virtual money, although they can buy you like airplane licenses and flight skips, and you can also pay to like fly particular, like you can add a route that you want into like a very specific route into your flight schedule. You pay money for that, so the money does like go to things, but nonetheless, I don't really care about the money. I want to fly into payware airports, and I want to fly for V-Spirit since they have that hoppy ACARS functionality, because it just adds a little bit more of a challenge when you're trying to depart from the correct gate. You're trying to arrive at the right gate. Like when you're flying on VATSIM, it's not like, yeah, we'll take any parking spot. You have to tell them, hey, we're just off runway 34 right at Foxtrot, taxi runway or taxi to Charlie 48. So it just kind of adds that immersion and a little bit more challenge to try to actually get to the correct gate. Plus, V-Spirit has standard operating procedures. So if you taxi out on single engine, you get more points. You taxi in on single engine, you get more points. If you start engine 1 first, because that's what you're supposed to do per their SOPs, you get points. You know, a bunch of different things. There's criteria that they look at that will give you points. So that kind of makes you better as a pilot procedurally, as well as a pilot's life. It analyzes 35 different things that you do and is judging you on that. So that makes you better. So I'm really liking V-Spirit, even though I was flying for American. Now, I think the perk to American is their route network is just so massive that you could probably fly just about anywhere, especially in the States. You can go anywhere that you'd want to, any city pair that you want to fly, you'd be able to do it for the most part. Shut up, watch. It keeps telling me, time to get moving, shut up. That is the one downside to dispatch. You're sitting at a desk for 10 hours a day. You don't get a break because it's a safety position. So you're having your lunch or your dinner or whatever at the desk. When you have to go to the bathroom, you have to ask another dispatcher, hey, can you watch my desk when we're running to the bathroom? You know, these are live flights with people on board, and things can happen. I mean, it can be a beautiful day, and like the weather's not a factor, rides are good, all that kind of stuff, and all of a sudden you got an airplane that's declaring an emergency and they're diverting because they got smoke in the cockpit or they lost an engine or, you know, some kind of crazy thing. So you got to be at your desk or somebody watching your desk if you leave your desk. And that's kind of the one crappy part is if you are a very active person and you like being outside and that kind of stuff, then dispatch, you know, you're just pretty stagnant. You're sitting at a computer, and then like me, I come home after a 10-hour shift, and then I come sit here for another 2 or 3 hours and fly virtual airplanes. So with that, like, you might see some dispatchers getting a little bit of a gut. But you know, that's what gyms are for. My girlfriend, she's big into CrossFit, and that's where she's at right now. She's at the gym while I sit here and drink coffee. But yeah, so V-Spirit does have hoppy ACARS. I know they're always trying to continuously like add, or V-Spirit's trying to add functionality as much as they can. Once we get a little bit closer to the top of descent, we will get an ACARS message, and it'll tell us where to park. It'll tell us if the gate has ground power, if it's got air, try to keep the APU off as much as possible, stuff like that. So it's pretty cool, pretty immersive. When I first saw that, I think I saw it on V1's stream, and I was like, oh, dude, I gotta look into that. That's pretty neat. Because it's the same thing in real life. Our pilots are getting pretty much the same exact ACARS, and it tells them the gate info and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes they won't get it, and they'll reach out to dispatch and they'll say, hey, we're not getting our gate info. What gate are you showing us, you know, to park at? And so then we'll look and we'll let them know what gate to park at. But also too, when they're a little ways out, they'll contact operations on the radio, let them know that they're in range, if they got any wheelchairs, any straight backs, any stuff like that, any special issues like we need law enforcement upon arrival, whatever. But they'll also the ops will confirm that they're, whatever the parking gate is. Ninja Man 334, might be worth it to fly some Airbus. I'm not a huge Airbus guy. That's so funny you say that, because I wasn't either. Before I came to my current company, I was a Boeing dude all the way. I mean, you heard me saying last night, 7.5 is like, man, 7.5 is like the sexiest airplane in my opinion. So yeah, I was always a big Boeing guy. Like, I understood Boeing autopilot because it was very self-explanatory. Like, if you wanted to go into LNAV, push LNAV. You want to go VNAV, push VNAV. You want to go heading select, and dial. Like, very self-explanatory. I couldn't really figure out the Airbus logic, and so I kind of shied away from the Airbus. Like, I didn't understand why every time I moved the throttles, the auto throttle would connect. Like, well, why is it doing this? The Boeing, you got to flip a little switch. So I was a big Boeing dude, and then I came to my company, and I was trying to learn, the autopilot, because now we're dispatching these airplanes, I need to understand it. And I had a pilot that explained the logic very well. It's almost like, you had that math teacher that finally they explained math in a way that it finally clicks. That was this guy. I was jump seating somewhere, and he explained it to me. So I'll explain it to you like he explained it to me, and then as you get more into the Airbus and you start messing with this stuff, the more you understand it, the more you're going to like the airplane. Because this airplane is just, compared to a Boeing, it's just so well thought out, and it's very, very user friendly. And especially in a high workload situation where you're getting a lot of different instructions from ATC, you want the airplane to be user friendly. You don't want to be clunky and trip over yourself, because airplane is a pain in the ass. So when it comes to the autopilot functionality, like the dual functioning knobs, each knob can either be pushed in or pulled out. And I never could understand exactly what the plane was doing whenever you did one of the functions. And so the pilot told me, it was like, so obviously before you start the flight, you program the McDo. Cool, so McDo is programmed. So then, if you want to tell the airplane, if you want it to do it, you want to give it to the airplane, so LNAV and VNAV, that kind of thing, you're going to push the knob in, and just like you're saying, I'm giving it to you, the airplane. I'm giving it to you, the airplane. So that's going to be manage climb, manage descent, manage speed, and we can get into that a little bit more in a second. Now, if you want to tell the airplane to do something, so now say instead of being in lateral navigation, now we want to be in heading mode. Well, now you're going to pull that knob, and it's almost like you're pointing to yourself, give it to me, the pilot, let me do it. So, just as an example, with the heading, right now we're in LNAV, and we can tell we got this solid little dot, and it even tells us up here. But if we wanted to go into heading mode, you'd pull the knob, so pull, and then you can select the heading you want. So I, the pilot, am telling the airplane to fly, 250. And now look, the airplane is turning, heading 250. And it's like we're making a little weather deviation. We're just kind of bobbing and weaving around a little thunderstorm cloud right now. Alright, cool. So now we're ready to get back on route. So now I'm going to say, I want to give it back to you, the airplane, and you fly the path that we planned in the McDo. So now you're going to push it in. Well, if it'll push. You push it in, and now it's going to go back into, actually, nav is only armed. In fact, this actually brings me to another point that I like, and this is what I love about this airplane. So let's keep it in heading mode. So we're back in heading. You can tell you're in heading mode because it says heading on the annunciator. When we saw nav right here, that just meant it was armed, but we probably need to tell it to go direct to a fix. So in the Boeing airplane, if we're in heading mode and we come down here to the FMS and we tell it that we want to go direct to, I think gap would be the next one, right? Yep. So we want to go to gap. You can put it in the FMS, but if you're in heading mode, it just stays in heading mode until you hit LNAV. So you have to go direct, gap, LNAV. In this airplane, so we hit direct gap, right? So now we just insert it, and then boom, automatically, without having to tell it to, it goes into nav mode, or lateral navigation. Because it's assuming that if you're telling it to go direct, that you actually want to go direct. So like, hey, let's go into LNAV, go damn direct. Instead of just staying in heading mode and continuously veering off the course and having to go tell it LNAV. So that's kind of just like an example for the dual functionality of the autopilot panel. Now the difference between like a managed descent, managed climb versus open descent, open climb. Managed is VNAV. So the airplane's going to fly what you put into the FMS, or the McDo, rather in Airbus talk. But it's going to fly what you have in there. So it's going to abide by constraints. Same if you're in managed speed. So like right now we're in managed speed. That's why it's dashed out with the dot. It's going to abide by speed constraints and altitude constraints. If you go into open climb or open descent, so you pull the knob, then it's just going to climb as fast as it can or descend as fast as it can, and it will ignore any constraints. So you have to kind of know that, otherwise you might bust constraints if you're in an open descent versus like a managed descent when you're coming in. Obviously same with speed. If you select speed, like we want to go like 250 knots, like it's going to fly 250 as long as it's selected. And so if there's a speed constraint coming up and we have this in here, it's just going to stay at 250, and if the speed constraint's 230, now we just busted a constraint. So give it to you, the airplane, and that's going to go managed. And right now, because we're in cruise, it's going to say Mach. But that will make the airplane comply with any speed constraints. So once you kind of start messing with the dual functionality knobs and you kind of have an idea of what you're telling the airplane by pushing or pulling, then you'll understand it, and you'll probably enjoy this airplane way more than a Boeing. Plus, and I say this every time because I find it funny, but it's almost like real life. Like I've got, as y'all can see, I've got my TCA yoke over there. When it's on the desk and I'm flying a Boeing airplane, like I have a TCA yoke, it's in my crotch, it's in the way. I have to reach around to reach my keyboard, and I can't like really be comfortable. I have a hard time kicking my feet up because it's partially sticking out under my desk. Super annoying. Airbus, I've got my desk. Like, there's nothing in front of me. I can lean on my desk. I can eat. It's kind of like having the tray table. So even from a flight sim perspective, I'm comfortable. I can write on things. It's great. So I'm team tray table because I like being comfortable. Plus you got footrest. It's way more roomy. Like the Airbus cockpit is far roomier than a 737. It's just nice. It's just nice. So give the Airbus a shot. The Phoenix is a phenomenal airplane. It'll take a little bit of getting used to. Watch YouTube videos. Watch my streams, like my past streams, and just kind of follow along. And man, I think you'll like it, especially when you're flying on VATSIM and things are getting busy. You're going to be glad you're in an Airbus instead of a 7.3. Promise. Aviation Geek, what is up, dude? How is the John Deere? Is still got its fuel? Welcome aboard, dude. Happy to see you. My man, Shaq, the VIP. Well, now he's saying the same thing. The man himself, Mr. Showtime. Great way to end my day watching my man on the employee bus. How is employee bus? Like, how does, obviously I know how it works, but like, do you have to account for the amount of time it takes to like park, get on the employee bus, and then get to ops to clock in? Because I could see that like kind of being an issue. Whenever I worked, ground stuff, like it was a really small airport, so we just park and then like walk into the terminal. But I've always wondered that for big airports where there's like employee parking lots and they have to take a shuttle, like how early from your start time do you have to show up at the employee lot to make sure you're in ops in time to clock in? Let's see, Ninja Man, fair enough. I definitely see how it's so user friendly. I love all the Boeings, but the ERJs are my favorite. Sadly, there's hardly any high fidelity. Yeah, give it time with Microsoft Flight Sim. I'm sure something's going to come along. I think there's a Embraer 175 through 195 family that's being developed. I can't remember if it's freeware or not, but I do know there's something being developed. On the X-Plane side of things, there are some ERJs, but I'm not familiar with how high fidelity they are. I think there's two different developers, so one may be higher than the other one. So if you fly X-Plane, that's probably something you want to look into. But yeah, the ERJs are kind of a weird hybrid between like Boeing and Airbus and something else. I can't remember what the third one was, but yeah, they're great airplanes. I'm not crazy about the format of their FMS or however they call it, CDU. So that's kind of like turning me off to the ERJ, but you know, you give something a try, you might like it. I got a good friend of mine that flies in my airline now. Him and I went to high school together. He used to fly for Republic on the 175, and he loved it. Said it was a great, incredibly capable airplane. I think they can do Cat 3 Autolands, maybe. For sure, Cat 2. Considering getting a side stick, I would. Absolutely. I've got the TCA side stick on my right because, you know, we in the right seat on my channel. And I got the TCA throttle with the add-ons. And for what they cost compared to the other options out there, absolutely worth it. I mean, now that I'm going into my manager role here soon, I will be getting a pay increase. So maybe I'll get a little bougie. And maybe I'll change my flight sim setup a little bit. Maybe I'll go to the setup that V1's got. Although I like the stick and the base, I would go with that. But as far as the center pedestal, there is one that is a little bit more authentic than the one that V1's got. Like the one I'm thinking of, one of my coworkers actually has. It's like $1,500, but it's the center pedestal of the Airbus. You don't have FMS, obviously, but there is a remedy to that. I think it's like $450. But it's basically a McDo, plugs into the computer. You could probably mount it to the center pedestal somehow. So center pedestal with no McDo, no radios, and then also no no whatever you'd call this panel, like predictive wind shear and weather radar panel and the TCAS panel. So it's mainly just like from here down, like the center part of the pedestal. But everything functions exactly how the real plane does. You have the lift gates on the engine master switches, so you got to lift up and then move. For your park and brake, you would lift up, twist, all that stuff. Same as the Airbus. I'm just thinking about maybe getting that if I want to be bougie. I do spend most of my time in the Airbus, so that's a possibility. Real quick, let's check this ACARS message. This should be our delay report, and this is something that pilots do in real life. The way our guys do it's a little bit different, but nonetheless, a delay report's very, very real. So CADC for a 12-minute delay. There's a delay card in the EFB. We can take a look at that. Go to the delay allocation card, and we got all these different delay codes. What would we call it for? And see, this is actually pretty realistic. I don't know about the delay code itself, but the reason, new route ATC assigned or new route ops assigned. So this would be a dispatcher changing the route for whatever reason. Say we planned a route, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a squall line building like crazy, and I mean, you should have seen that when planning the flight in the first place. But things do change, and they can change rapidly. So say that dispatch changed the route, and it caused a little bit of a delay. So let's do that. Let's just put it on dispatch. That delay code is going to be ORO. So we'll come back out of here and go to ADC delay, and we're going to put in ORO 12 minutes. And you can do multiple reasons. Say like we took a 2-minute delay because the jet tug driver or the pushback driver was taking forever to hook up, and that was 2 minutes, and then the route change was 10. As long as it adds up to 12, that's all that matters. So anyways, we'll just stick with this, and we can also put an optional message. That's pretty much what our pilots do. They just send a message and say, hey, we were delayed because we were blocked in the alleyway by a departing aircraft, something like that, which happens all the time. So you can put in a little free text message if you want. We'll just hit send, and then we'll get another message that's acknowledging our ADC delay. That's not V-Spirit, that's Phoenix, FYI. Also, if you're not familiar with Airbus and you see this ETP, that means that is literally just telling you you're halfway through the flight. That's like a halfway mark. There we go. There is the acknowledgement. It's received. Sweet. Cool. Let's get a little bit more in the chat, and then we're going to start setting up for the arrival. There's a few things that I like to do for the arrival, so we'll get to that in just a few. Let's see. You can get a stick for $30. You don't need anything super crazy. True. Yeah, and I guess my brain instantly went to like the Airbus side stick. But yeah, if you just want a joystick, you can get joysticks for pretty cheap. Hillbilly, what's up, dude? Welcome to the stream. I think you sent me some stuff, but I haven't been able to look yet. I've been running my mouth nonstop. In fact, let me shut up. I'm gonna take a sip. Sweet. All right. Yeah, they're coming. I spilled some gasoline, stupid gas can, put the yellow flick thing in the back and made the hole. Oh, yeah. I hate that. It's kind of funny too how gas cans have got a little complicated. Like I got two different gas cans and they both like are way different. One's got like a push release kind of a deal, and then like another one's like you put the little tab on the edge of the gas can hole and it like pushes it, lets it out. I don't know. It's kind of funny how they've gotten a little bit of a pain in the ass. Well, can't we just pour our gas anymore? Yep, on track. Yep. Tack on extra 15 to 20 minutes to park. Catch the bus, walk to... Oh, that sucks, man. That's 15, 20 minutes of sleep you're losing. And that doesn't really go a long way, but it's always nice to have. Back out here for a little bit. Have some better views than just the cockpit the whole time. Yeah, it's great. I've flown them back on FSX, and I'm pretty familiar with them. Sweet. Now, you probably know a lot more about them than I do. I'm sure I think I know how to get it started and get it running, but I'm not familiar with the FMS on that plane, like, at all. John Deere still looking sexy, needs a bath like I'm about to do in the hot tub. Nice. I don't know if I had since it's like Florida where I live and it's always daggum hot, I don't know how often I would use one. But it'd be nice to have, especially in the wintertime. Our wintertimes down here are so nice. Liam, welcome aboard, my friend. Sorry, I know you sent your message like 5 minutes ago. I'm just now catching up. How long does it take you to plan a flight in real life? So it greatly varies by the complexities of the flight itself. If it's a short flight and there's no weather and the rides are good and the arrival rate is low and all that kind of stuff, and it's a pretty quick, just a few mouse clicks, calculate, everything looks right, file and send. But for the more complex flights, like your really long flights, I don't know, for example, Boston to LA, we're planning the flight 2 to 3 hours in advance, and that flight's going to be like 5.5 hours long. So we're trying to forecast and figure out what the weather is going to be like when the flight is en route. So we're not just like taking into consideration just the TAF at the destination. We're looking at en route weather. So we're like, all right, when we get here, we should be crossing this area, hour en route. Okay, weather's good. We get to this area, 2 hours en route. We got a cold front. There's already some like little scattered cells popping up. It's probable that weather's going to blow up, and we have some sources of future radar that we can kind of refer to get an idea of what the weather's going to do. But yeah, so we're kind of looking at each area that the flight's going to go through. We're analyzing the winds aloft, so if we'll try to stay out of stronger headwind, so we might adjust the route for that. Like, there's a lot of things that we're taking into consideration that can make planning a flight pretty complex. So worst case, really worst case, if you're being really analytical, you got weather at your destination, and we got a lot of NOTAMs to read. We got to read NOTAMs for the origin, NOTAMs for the destination, NOTAMs for the alternate, as well as any en route NOTAMs. There's a lot of stuff to cover. So I would say like longest 30 minutes or so. It can take a little while if you're really deep diving it, and there's a lot of different factors to consider. Fly with Auto, great job yesterday. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I've said it before, but still means so much to me that y'all really enjoyed that. Because I do have a passion for not just aviation, but also what I do, and to be able to share that with y'all was just, man, it was the best. And I'm glad y'all enjoyed it, because some people, in fact, probably a lot of my coworkers could probably find the conversation we had yesterday to be somewhat boring, because they live that life, and it's nothing different to them. But you know, for people who don't know much about it, I'm so thankful that y'all, really enjoyed it and found it interesting. Like, I got a lot of compliments from like coworkers and friends and family who kind of popped in, and they were like, "Hey, I'm not even interested in aviation, and we don't flight sim, but like that was really interesting, and we watched the whole thing." So that was just awesome to hear. So really glad that y'all enjoyed that, and maybe down the road there'll be episode 2 or part 2. And again, big shout out to Blu and XP for allowing me to come on their show and tell my story. It's 93 here today in Cookeville, Tennessee. What is it here? Curious. It is 94 where I'm at. And relatively dry, which is, that can't be right. It says humidity 41%. There ain't no way. It's always like lowest. That's like a wintertime kind of humidity. Anyways, it's still hot. Oh, hey man, I'm a Louisianian myself. You are definitely down in Cajun country. Earlier I said something about like the skies is like the ocean, or it's like water, and then the airplane's like boats. If you got a yacht and a cruise ship, you're not going to feel a wave, but if you're in a John boat or a P-row, you know what a P-row is. Going down the bayou, go toot my alligator in the back of the head on the P-row, Hey, go Tigers. Are you a ULL fan? I'm originally from Monroe, so we've got ULM, and I know ULM and ULL are big rivals. But more so, I'm an LSU guy. Man, and so you can, if we ever talk about food on this channel, and I bring up boudin and gumbo, crawfish etouffee, crawfish, all that good stuff, you'll already know what I'm talking about, and you can attest to it. So, welcome aboard, my fellow Louisianian. So happy to have you. That's awesome, dude. Where are we at? Oh, bro, thank you. Captain Mitchell, does flight planning change at all when planning a flight, for example, to Mexico or the Caribbean? Not really. From the pilot's perspective, there's definitely some changes, like, SIDS and stars get a little weirder once you get outside the states. We're very much used to just like our normal names, like we're arriving on the Chow 2, whereas like in Cancun it's going to be like the Vomar 1A or the Vomar 2B or whatever it is. So things on the pilot side are a little bit different. For us, not so much. We don't have as much control on routing when we're going once we're outside the states. Cancun, we have a little more flexibility, but once we start getting further south from Cancun, we can't really change the routing a whole lot, because the foreign government authorities that control the airspace, they give us the route that they want, and then we'll plan that route, and then if there's a lot of weather or something, we'll just gas them up and let ATC kind of work them around stuff once they're en route. We don't really have a lot of flexibility, so that's kind of really the only thing, is we don't have the flexibility on routing. Airports aren't as good as far as like just the capabilities of the airport. Some have just RNAV only approaches, and we can't use those for alternates. Some, or a lot of them, are single runway. So we're taking that in consideration, because as we saw not too long ago, that DHL plane had issues, I think, down in San Jose, Costa Rica. So a lot of us will plan a precautionary alternate for single runway operations, just in case something happens, and we want somewhere to go. So it's a little bit more restrictive, but it's not just a whole lot of training, just a few more things to kind of take in consideration. Well, that's a really good question, though. Nope, you made the point yesterday, my bro. That was really good. Thanks, Rio. Chase, enjoy that story, though. It's going to be raining on my departure out of Atlanta. Oh, you'll be fine. Rain don't do nothing to airplanes. Maybe a little bumpy. Thunderstorms, though, that's going to be different. And if you're flying X-plane, then it's going to kick your airplane around a lot further. By the way, guys, from what I'm seeing on my side, we are 1 like away from 30 likes. I don't think I've ever had 30 likes on a single video. So please, if you haven't already, hit the like button, because that would be really cool to see 30. I have very high standards in life. But no, I've not seen. Those are getting bumped around. Haven't seen 30 yet. So if we can make that happen, that'd be really cool. So it looks like we're kind of getting bumped around a tad bit. Let's get that seatbelt sign back on. Let's see. Well, I did a year at ULL, but I support LSU all the time, so no worries here. Yeah, same. It's like, I see 30 now. Look at y'all. Y'all are the best. Thank y'all. That is really cool. Now, because I got 30 likes on the stream. But yeah, it's kind of the same for most of us in Monroe. Like, you know, we're born in Monroe, so we support our local team and all. But, you know, for the most part, when you're born in Louisiana, you're born an LSU fan. So, super curious to see how this season's going to go with Brian Kelly as our new head coach. Should be a lot of fun to watch. All right, sent message on Discord. I think I got a few messages on Discord. Oh my God, feels like 111. Hell no. 60% humidity. Yeesh. Nope, you can have it. Keep that up there. I'm glad there's opportunities outside of being a pilot or a flight attendant. I just want to be at the airport looking into doing something with aviation and never thought about dispatching until yesterday. Sweet. So that can be like, if you want to see the airplanes, that can be a slight downfall. Just depending. I mean, every airline's different, and like most airlines headquarters are going to be at or very close to an airport. And like in my first airline, you could go outside and like we were on the approach in St. Louis, I think on runway 12 right. So man, like planes were coming like right overhead. There's also a Boeing factory there. They built F-18s there. So like F-18s were doing test flights and doing unrestricted climbs. So like you go outside and you're just getting the aviation fulfillment, and you're just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And you feel more connected to what you do as a dispatcher when you're watching the airplanes. Now, my current company, I started in one location, and we were kind of far from the airport, so we weren't really like, you couldn't really see any airplanes, and I felt pretty disconnected from the operation and like what I do for a living, and it kind of sucked. But then now we've moved our office, and now we're at the airport, and it's so cool because I can plan a flight and then go outside and watch it take off. And it's so cool to watch a plane take off or land and know that there's a piece of paper with my name on it in the cockpit of that airplane. In fact, I think I might have I have to be careful with what I show, but I might have some pictures stored somewhere. It's just really neat. Like I'll have like a pilot that I know, and I'm dispatching his flight, and like send me a picture of the release, and it's got his name, my name next to each other. Or like my friend we were just talking about that flew at Republic. Now that he's at my company, I had no idea he even got hired. I knew he wanted to come, but I didn't know he got hired, and he never told me. So I'm at work one night, and I get a text, and I look down, and it's a picture, and it's his name next to my name on the release. And it's like a good friend of mine from high school. I was like, oh my God, you made it. Sweet. And I actually dispatched his very first red-eye Transcon. And he loved it. Said the rides were smooth and the radio was quiet, and it was a really good experience, and all that stuff. So it was pretty neat to when I got that text message and saw his name next to mine. Let's see what else we got here. Blues in the house. What's going on, man? How was your stream? We've been at it now for a while. The whole flight planning part took a little bit. So I know yesterday you said that you wanted flight planning. You wanted to see that stuff and see it kind of in depth. There's definitely some of that at the beginning of this stream. A little bit long-winded, but I digress. But welcome aboard, Blue. Happy to have you, man. Hope your stream was good. Hope your landing was smooth. But as we know, and I've been trying to kind of change that a little bit with my streams, that the landing rate is not the most important thing. In real life, the pilots are trying to put it down on the touchdown zone, and if they can, make it smooth too. But yeah, it's not all about the landing rates. But nonetheless, hope your stream was good, man. We've been talking you up this whole stream. Let's see. DHL incident was insane. Yeah, it sure was. I think we had an aircraft there, and that airport was shut down, so our plane was stuck for quite a while. I like the vid and sub. Thank you so much, Max Racing. I appreciate it. Hopefully you can get some sort of helpful information out of this. If you like aviation, then there's all sorts of stuff that we talk about and show on here that hopefully you can learn something. And if not, then go watch V1 simulations, because he will absolutely teach you something. In fact, there's little things here and there that I didn't know that from watching a V1 stream, I knew. Like I didn't know that the procedure changed for the APU startup to run a 3-minute engine or a 3-minute APU warm-up before you turn the bleed on. I learned that from V1. So, learned a lot of little things from him. Oh yeah, 31. Yep, that's what I'm showing on my end too. I've noticed that sometimes the count's a little off. But yeah, thank you guys so much. We've not only set the record, but like the record I wanted has now been broken. Never had 30 likes. We got 30 likes, and now 31. That's sweet. Came a long way, Mr. Dispatcher, flying on the wrong side of the right. That's right. In fact, if it wasn't for Flaps 121 simulations, that's a little bit further up in the chat. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this at all. Him and I started doing some flying together. He's a coworker of mine. And he kept telling me for the longest time, he's like, dude, you need to stream. You're really good at this. You have a lot to offer and a lot to teach. You're very passionate about it. You need to stream. And my outlook on it was like, I don't know. Like, you get a lot of people in the comments who are, thanks, Blue. Sweet. But it's like you get a lot of people in the comments who are like, oh, that's not how it's done. Like, over here they do it this way, and over there they do it that way. You're not doing it right. Like, I didn't want to, like, have to deal with that. So it took him a while to talk me into streaming, and finally I was like, all right, cool, we'll do it. And man, I'm so glad that I did. Like, at this point, it's not remotely as fun to fly without streaming and having y'all to talk to and ask questions and answer questions and just interact with y'all. And I'm still obviously a very small YouTube channel, and I honestly have no problems with that whatsoever, because it gives me more the opportunity to get to know y'all. And especially if you join the Discord and I get to talk to you more often, I get to know you personally. And like we talked about last night on the stream, Jay, him and I became friends through this channel, and as y'all saw a while ago, he just passed his test to get approved to take the FAA test. So now he's just got 2 more steps to go, and he is a signed off dispatcher. Really, it's kind of one step, because he'll do it all in the same day. He's got to take his ADX, then his oral and practical, and he's done. And he will be a certified dispatcher and will be shooting flights off at Republic Airways. And all that is because of this channel, and that is by far the coolest thing in the world. So yeah, like that's why I was so excited to go on Blu and XP show last night, and to be able to just to share it with y'all, because I figure there's probably going to be people out there who don't know about us but are doing this and love it. It would help y'all down the long road as well. So, and again, if there's ever anything dispatch related, like guidance on how to get started into dispatch and what to expect as a dispatcher and that kind of stuff, hit me up on the Discord. I was already this morning, I came to my Discord, and I spent all morning answering questions and providing some guidance, and made some really cool connections. In fact, one of which Blue knows as well. Blue, I'll have to shoot you a DM is a really cool conversation I had in Discord that I might be doing something that you do that goes towards charity, if you know what I'm talking about. I've got a little invite. I'm going to look into it, Might have to take some vacation time to go to Southern California. Hint, hint. And might get in on that as well. So I can't really share too many details on that per the person I was chatting with, but I think it's enough for Blue to understand. So anyways, all right, so now we're getting close. We should be getting close to top of descent. Yeah, we're just shy of about 40 miles out. So a couple things I like to do to prepare for my arrival and give myself a little better situational awareness. The first thing we'll do is we're going to check this ACARS message. Should be our gate assignment. There it is, Telex. This is from vSpirit, and it says automated uplink gate assignment for flight 204 is Bravo 24. It's got ground power and it's got air. There is no ops frequency, and keep the APU shut down when able. Automated service provided by vspirit.io. It is in beta. Cool, so we're going to go to Bravo 24. Definitely want to annotate that, because when it comes time to tell the controller, if we have a controller, I will forget. I forget everything in life. So Bravo 24, sweet. Alright, now this is for any of y'all who are a little more familiar with the Airbus and you want to learn how to do range rings and you want to do extended center lines, that kind of stuff. Pay attention, and you'll be able to learn that here. So how can I show this to you the best way? Let's do let's open the charts. Very simple. And we're going to go to we're planning the RNAV Yankee 19 left. So we're going to have this up. The first thing I'm going to do is the quickest and the easiest. I'm going to try to make this where you can see it really well. In fact, we'll get rid of my face so that you can see it. Alright, first thing we're going to do, put a range ring around the airport. I like to do sometimes 7, sometimes 5 miles. My general rule of thumb is I'm going to maintain 170 knots until 7 miles, and then I'm going to get fully configured, so I'll go manage speed, gear down, spoilers armed, flaps 3. If you go like 7 is a little conservative, the airplane has no problem slowing down once you get that dirty, and you'll make your VREF very easily. So very often in real life, pilots will often be assigned like 170 knots until 5 miles, and then they'll get dirty at 5 miles or get fully configured. So we're going to put a range ring. I'm going to do 7 miles because we're on a little RNAV approach. What is this ring here? This is 10. That's 20, so this would be, I guess, 15. So I would assume this is 5. And we're going to be coming in probably at Lappin, Stora, and then in that way. This would be a pretty easy one. If we want to make it a little bit more interesting, we could do the RMP, which we don't really do those, but it would be. No, we do RMP, we just don't do LPV. Cool. So actually, we might do it. We might do this one instead. It's a much more shallow approach, and it'll look way cooler and be a lot more fun. So let's choose that real quick. Arrival. And we want, this is Zulu. RNAV 19, where you at? There's a Victor. There was a Victor. Whatever. Zulu, 19 left. Again, Chow 2, got the gap transition. Nothing else has changed other than that, so we'll just insert that. So I'll make sure there's no weird discons. This one is from the star to the arrival. No big deal. Pepin is the first. Might need to put in an approach via pin. Cool. Put that in. So that way we'll start at pin and work our way in. Now to do the range ring, just click on a fix. That's going to take you to this page. Go to fix info and then put in the airport identifier. And then we're going to put in, we'll go kind of conservative. Let's go 7. We'll do a 7-mile range ring. Alright, so next, I want to extend my center line just so that I have better situational awareness of where my center line is at. So I'm going to take my final approach fix, which is gift. And we're going to put that one in. So we'll tab over to page 2. You're allowed to do 4 fixes. And we're going to do gift. GIF. Where's the FTT? And now this is where things, it seems a little tricky, but it's not. We're going to switch over to the airport diagram. We're planning on 19 left, right? Well, 19 left goes this way. And that's the opposite direction than what we want. We want our center line to shoot this way. So we're going to put in the heading of the opposite side of the runway that we're landing on. So it's going to be 014. Alright, now that's in. And now we can get rid of that. Make sure we're not about to cross. Yeah, we're getting close. Let's see. It's not controlled airspace right now. Our bottom altitude is going to be 6,000 feet. We'll get 6,000 in there. There will be constraints, but the airplane will automatically make those because we're going to be in managed descent. Cool. We want to be at 6,000 feet, 210 knots at pin, which is the start of the approach. I'm just waiting for our top of descent to make it so I don't miss it, because if I keep talking I'll forget and then we'll be high. Some people might like to be high, but because of my job I can't get high, so we want to get low. Alright, so descent, which is confirmed by the annunciator. The airplane's going to descend, and it should, I don't know why it's going down that fast. There you go. It's going to shallow off, and it's going. This represents our glide path. It's going to maintain its vertical navigation, and it's indicated by the glide path there with the little green dot. We're thrust idle. We're starting our way down. So now let's check for that center line and make sure that it went in correctly, because every now and then I'll mess it up. So I'm going to go into plan. We'll go 20, and then down here, kind of get this where y'all can see it. Flight plan, and we're going to tab through our fixes. So there's the range ring. We can already see the range ring. Oh, wait a minute. Why do I got two range rings? See, this is why I always check. Fix info. 7 nautical miles. You have to, oh, because I put it in the wrong box. See, that's why you check. So it's not supposed to, the heading 014 is not supposed to go in there. I'm sure some of y'all saw that and like, no, dum-dum. Put it in the radial. So it's 014 in the radial box. And now our center line just drew. So we'll keep on tabbing. Keep it coming down. And everything looks like it's pretty correct. I'm getting a phone call right now. Call him back. Yep, so everything kind of joins up correctly. We got our center line shooting out. So for whatever reasons, like we got another aircraft that's on the approach and we need to like extend our base or something like that, maybe turn downwind just for some separation, we can fly parallel to that line and always know where our center line is at, and that will that just helps with good situational awareness. Go back to ARC, flight plan, cool. So now we need to brief up the approach now that we're on our way down. So again, we're going to open up our charts, bring the old charts up. Alright, so we are planning on coming in on the Chow 2 RNAV arrival. This is applicable to runways 1 left, 1 right, 19 left, 19 right, 26 left, 26 right. So for us, oh wait, that's Valanta. My bad. So yeah, starting down at Chow, 250 knots, at or below flight level 190, and we're just going to work our way down, meeting all these crossing constraints. So Satchel, at or below 13,000, at or above 10,000, so we want to be in that window of altitude. Same with Flea, just working our way down. FOOV, 220 knots, at or below 8, at or above 7,000. And we're just working our way over. From this point, at pin, that's when we're going to start our approach. So we want, should be Zulu, it is Zulu. Cool. So this is an RNAV approach. So otherwise, if it was ILS, you would see your ILS frequency here. It's RNAV approach. Final approach course is 194 degrees. Our final approach fix is Koopa, and that doesn't sound right. Thought it was a gift. never mind. So yeah, this is the final approach fix. I don't know why I call this the final approach fix. It's just the last fix on the approach. And so, fun little fact. Let's say, like, obviously it's not going to happen in Vegas because Vegas is very dry. But if we were on the approach somewhere, and we are inside or we're within that final approach fix, so we've passed the fix, and then all of a sudden the airport reports, it reports visibility that's below landing minimums. You can continue the approach because we are beyond the final approach fix. If we are before the final approach fix, go around. Just a little side info for you guys. Let's see. I'm not as familiar with these RNAV approaches as I am ILS's. So, being that it's a RNAV approach, decision altitude is 2470, touchdown zone elevation is 2112. Standard 3-degree glide slope. We have approach lights, PAPI on the left. And so our go miss is going to be 7,000 feet on RNAV missed approach route. So it would be the published missed approach over to Malter. To shoot this approach, God, yeah, I don't really know as much about these. RMP, it should be RMP. Data. Not really sure where I'd figure this out. I need V1. V1! Have 0.5, 0.7, 0.6. I don't even know if that's like the same thing or not. I would doubt it. Anyways, we're just going to do whatever the airplane says. I'm a lot better at briefing up ILSs than I am this. So, pardon my lack of knowledge on RNAV approaches. Cool. So we're going to do all that. If we go missed again, we'll climb to 7,000 RNAV on the missed approach route over to Malter. From there, once we land on 19 left, we have approach lights, PAPI on the left, 30-degree glide slope on the PAPI. It's grooved. We don't have a glide slope. It's going to be a glide path. I think I just said glide slope. It's a glide path. If it were an ILS, like for example 26 right, you have your usable runway from the glide slope. So this is what we would be considering like for usable runway. But anyways, our runway is 150 feet wide. To landing distance available is 8,808 feet. So that's the main number we care about as far as landing. The airport diagram will show bigger. Like from the threshold, you've got 8,893 feet, but for landing, you've got 8,808 feet because you got that little bit of runway that you're flying over before you touch down. Now, coming in on 19 left, once we land, it's going to be a left-hand turnoff, and hopefully we can make whiskey, and we'll just probably whiskey, Delta, over to the A gates. We should be somewhere over here, I believe. We're going Alpha 24. Oh, correction, we're going Bravo 24. See, that's why you write it down. We're going Bravo 24, so we should just be able to go straight in on Whiskey. Whiskey straight into the Bravo gates. And Bravo 24 is over here. Cool, so we got that part. Now, the last thing we need to do is get weather. So what the weather's like in Las Vegas, we'll put that into the McDo. Yep, so just give me the METAR. Winds are 240 at 5, 10 statute miles, clear skies, temperature's 36, dew point's 2, altimeter's 2990. We're about to cross in transition altitude, so we'll put that in just a second in the dash, but we'll come here, next, 2990, temperature's 36, and the winds were 240 at 5. So actually runway 26 right would be, 26 left would be applicable. 240 at 5. But we're going to stick with the RNAV just because it's a much cooler approach. Minimums again are going to be, it's all dictated based off of the RMP, and I don't know which one, so we'll go most restricted. We'll do 2582. Where's V1 when you need them? I don't see him in the chat. I need V1 to teach me this stuff. There's already videos on RNAV stuff. Alright, so we're through transition altitude. We'll get 2990 in there. Yes, I know. I knew it was going to do that because it was taking so long to get them matched up. 2990. Now we don't need more drag. And then we're going to do a status page check. All is normal. Seatbelt signs are on. The only other thing we need to determine now is what our stable altitude is going to be. Stable altitude is going to be 1,000 feet on top of airport elevation. Airport elevation on this one, or touchdown zone elevation rather, is 2112. So it's going to be 3112. So it's going to be stable pretty early. It might be kind of hard, but how this approach is, I don't know. But anyways, approach checklist. Briefing is complete. We just did it. Approach stable by 3112. ECAM status is checked. Seatbelt signs are on. Minimums 2582 is set. And actually, if it's an MDA, it's not. It's still a DA. It's not an MDA. There's a difference between MDA and DA. I think it's precision versus non-precision. But anyways, so our minimum is 2582. Engine NEIS 1 and 2 is off, and the altimeter is 2990 set. And so see, this is good for y'all to see. Like, as a dispatcher, this is kind of teaching me stuff because I haven't done as many RNAVs, and with that I have a little bit less knowledge. So now it'd be a good idea for me to go to either work or hit up one of my pilot buddies and be like, yo, what exactly are we capable of? What are we looking at when we're doing these RNAVs? Like all this RMP stuff. Like, explain to me y'all's thought process. And now, like, through this stream, I'm realizing, like, all right, I'm kind of weak at these. And because I haven't done a lot of them, I'm also weak at briefing them and understanding them. Like, if I were going to go do the ILS at 26 left, like, well, I'd be looking like a pro. But it's part of why I like doing this stuff, so I can learn what I'm weak at, what I need to work on. And for example, like this RMP approach, is it a DA or is it an MDA? Which I'm pretty sure it would say MDA if it was an MDA. Is a DA precision and an MDA non-precision? Like, because I know our pilots add 50 feet to any MDA. MDA is going to be like the localizer approach runway 27. That one has an MDA. This one I don't believe is an MDA. Let's try the other one. The other ones. Right. Okay, cool. So let me show you all this. So this is for the RNAV Yankee 19 left. So this is Yankee. The other one, the one we're actually doing is Zulu. So LPV, LNAV, VNAV are DAs. You can see DA here. So descent altitude. LNAV is an MDA. So I'm pretty sure just the difference between the two. I probably should know this, and it's a matter of just going and looking it up real quick. It's not hard at all. This is more pilot stuff than dispatch stuff. Oh, thank you, airplane. I'm pretty sure DA is precision and an MDA is a non-precision approach. Therefore, if we were shooting the LNAV, we would add 50 feet to this MDA. But see, some of this stuff kind of gets down and dirty and a little complicated. Oh, actually, no, it makes sense. So I think in a DA, you have some sort of vertical guidance. In MDA, you do not have vertical guidance. That's why it's a minimum descent altitude versus like just a descent altitude. Because the MDA, you're going to make sure you have obstacle clearance. See? I'm learning still. Alright, so since it is not an ILS, we're going to leave those ILS push buttons off. Should have the airplane configured in our settings to not have FLS. I like FLS, FLS is FMS landing system, so it makes an RNAV look a lot like an ILS, but my company doesn't have FLS, at least to my knowledge. Therefore, I don't have it in there because I'm trying to be realistic and be forced to learn. RNAVs are a lot easier to fly if it looks like an ILS on the PFD, but if you don't have that, you need to be better at knowing how to fly them. So I don't have them on. Landing lights are on. Sweet. We're just cruising on down. Back to the chats. Looks like I missed a bunch of stuff. Saw you on Blu-Xperience. Great show last night. Thank you so much, Bob Lee Swagger. That's a badass name. I like that. But I'm very happy that you enjoyed it, and welcome aboard. You've kind of come in at a time where I'm like getting mixed up in my approach types and whatnot. But welcome aboard nonetheless. When he gets on busy. And NavGeek, thank you for catching that for me too. Green light, where are you at? I don't know what you mean. Let's see, my darn phone wants to type Bobby McGee. Bobby Lee. That's funny. I'm watching the beginning part of your stream. Killer Bro got me dancing over here. Sweet. Now hopefully you can learn to take something from it. Are getting on aviation and buttery slippery landings. Yeah. Oh, I wish. Just got home from work. Going to start from the beginning when the stream is over. Cool. Yeah, I think you'll learn a lot. It's a little long-winded, but we definitely deep dive some of the general like dispatch, flight planning considerations and things that we're looking at to consider when planning your sim flights. So the Phoenix has checklists on the table, so that it doesn't come that way. Just had a friend of mine who's really good at painting liveries and doing this kind of stuff, and I got really tired of holding a big paper checklist, so I had him take my checklist and texture it to the cockpit tray table. So yeah, that's something I've got. I could probably put that in my Discord for y'all to download if you like. But it's just a generic checklist. You can probably find plenty of others that are very similar to it on FlightSim.to. There are ones like that on FlightSim.to because that's how I initially got the idea, because somebody else got the idea to make it first. All right. Oh, that's right, because we're going to pin. I got a little scared. I was looking at the RNAV Yankee, and I was like, we're way off course. Oh shoot, I made 300 subscribers. Thank you. I wasn't even looking. I knew I was a little close. I glanced at it earlier, but for me, it's just about my interactions with y'all and not so much the count. So I don't really look at it a whole lot, but that's pretty sick. If we make it to 313, that'll be 100 subscribers gained in less than 24 hours. So that would be kind of wicked. So I think yesterday when I started the stream, I had 213 or something. Alright, so speed alt star, and we're going to keep it coming on down. Manage descent, so thrust idle descent, and we are V&E plus 10, so let's go flaps 1. I'm going to have a constraint here at 5,300 feet, and we need to start making some call outs. Vegas Traffic Spirit Wings 204s, roughly about 12 miles to the northeast. Planning the RNAV runway 19 left, Vegas. Alright, so it's going to go selected speed, approach. Is already activated. You want to activate your approach before hitting approach. So it'll know what you're doing, and it won't just stop at altitude constraints. Missed approach, altitude is 7,000 feet. So if we hadn't activated the approach, we can hit this, but then if we go doing 7,000, the airplane's going to try to level off. Alright, so let's slow her down. We're a little bit behind the ball here. So I'm going to focus on the airplane. In fact, we'll just go manage speed. And we're fast. We might be going around, guys.
2,500.
Let's go gear down to slow us down. Usually you want to be like gear down once your flaps too, but we're gonna have a hard time slowing down. I'll let the plane get ahead of me. So get ready, guys. We're probably gonna go around. But go arounds in the Airbus are super easy. So if we can't slow down. Vegas Traffic Spirit Wings 204 is on final. About 4 mile final for runway 19 left. Vegas. And yeah, we're going to be going around. Still can't even go flaps 2 yet. Alright, autopilot still on. All I'm going to do is go toga. Go around.
100 above.
Positive brake gear up. Disarm spoilers. SRS nav. Vegas Traffic Spirit Wings 204 going around runway 19 left. Failed to get stable. Vegas. Alright, lever climb, acceleration altitude. Thrust climb, open climb. It should have just done a soft go around. But do you like it? Subscribe today. Alright, so now we're just basically flying the missed approach. Don't really need to fly all the way out here. I'm level off at 6,000. Speed alt star. And we'll just go heading mode. And we're just going to box ourselves back around. We'll try it again. If we suck again, then we'll try 26 left. I just let the airplane get ahead of me. So it was 190. Make sure we're not going to slam into any terrain. And we'll just get ourselves set back up again. Let's keep that turn going. Yeah, if your autopilot's engaged too, all you got to do is just okay, go around. Captain go around. I would have slammed at negative 670. Yeah, I mean that's why I don't mind going around because it's practice. And essentially, if you think about it like this, but go around, it's just another takeoff. So as soon as you go around, switch your brain into takeoff mode. I'm like, all right, positive rate, gear up. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that was not great. So we're just going to start over. 6,000 at pin. We're at 6,000. And we're just going to box it. We got another dude. Looks like, okay, he's flying over. That's the joy of Valanza too. You can look and see who's around and if like you can be crossing anybody. Yesterday I went around in Denver and I had a guy. I went around in Denver on runway 34 left or 34 right, and I made a left-hand turnout. But then there was a guy taking off a 25, so that left-hand turnout put us parallel to each other. So I stayed at my altitude until he was above me, and then came back around. So I always want to be aware of obviously traffic around you and that kind of stuff. Vegas Traffic Spirit Wings is about 7 miles to the southeast, and we're going to be setting back up again for the RNAV runway 19 left. So I'm just kind of waiting until I'm parallel to pin. Once I'm parallel to it, we'll go direct. Oh, it's just a nice, easy turn. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of an acute turn to get back on this track. And airplanes aren't the best with acute turns, or acute angle turns, rather. So this time, we're going to do this a little bit better. Let's go ahead and slow down. We'll stick it at 180 for now. Terrain's looking good outside. No issues there. Nobody else is calling out. So as far as I know, we're fine on the traffic. Alright, we're about parallel to pin. Let's go direct pin. Nope, direct button. Make sure it looks right. It does. Insert. Now the airplane's going to automatically turn. So we're nav. We are V&E plus 10, flaps 2. Speed checks flaps 2. Alright, we're in selected speed, so we can go ahead and activate that approach. Confirm. App nav. So it's going to navigate to the final approach. And with these winds, and probably the wind spinning off this mountain's terrain, it's kind of making the engines surge a little bit. Just trying to maintain that 180. And then as we get close to pin, we're going to go 170. And then once we cross that 7-mile range ring, actually we'll probably go managed as soon as we start descending. Apparently I'm not very good at these, so I want to do it a little bit earlier. We are crossing the approach for 26 left. So if we had somebody on approach, we'd definitely want to be cognizant of where we're at in relation to them and try not to hit them. So we should start coming down once we cross this little white arrow. $170. There we go, final lap. Now the airplane's going to start tracking down and it's following that GPS glide path. So I'm going to go manage speed, gear down, arm spoilers, and flaps 3. I just didn't realize how close we were last time. And now we are far more set up and way ahead of the game. Flaps full. Vegas Traffic Spirit Wings 204. Let's try this again. We are about 8 miles on the RNAV, runway 19 left, Vegas. Yeah, like look at that. Now we're already like we're fully configured. Probably could have just done all that like a little bit later once we crossed the range ring like I initially wanted to. But because of how things went on the last approach, figure let's get set up a little early. We got a lot of gas on board. We got 11,300 pounds. If we needed to go around again, no problem. We could do that. But at this time, we would probably want to tell the dispatcher, like if there was a likely reason, like we're going to go around again, probably want to tell the dispatcher, like, yo, fuel on board is 11,300 pounds. We're shooting the approach again. If we go missed, we'll set up for 26 left, but we want to know, like, what's our fuel situation looking like as far as, you know, if we had to change our alternate to Ontario or LA, something that's better, like out of this area, definitely don't want to go to St. George, then, like, how much of our gas we have on board now is going to be eaten up by the fuel burn to the alternate. So we want to start talking to the dispatcher, but at this time I would say there's a very low likelihood that we're going to go around again, unless it gets windy and can't get stable. So again, stable is going to be roughly 3,100 feet.
2,500.
It says 2,000. Okay, so we're stable. Cool. And again, I am not a real pilot, as you can tell. Alright, let's make this challenging. We could have just leave it on autopilot, and then once we're kind of lined up, disconnect, but I'm going to hand flat. Actually, take it back. I'm going to do something first. Landing checklist. Cabin crew is advised. Auto thrust, speed, auto brakes, low, EQMMO, landing all green. Landing checklist is complete. There we go. Now we do it. So we're a little high.
$1,000.
I need a second pilot to turn those flight directors off.
100 above.
We try. Alright, so now we're just visual.
500. Minimum.
Continue. We are
400.
stable. I'm going to dip it down. Aim at those piano keys. Compensate for the flares. Nice little wind gusts.
$200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10. 5.
Oof. That was good. My, that's terrible. Wow, that was terrible. By the way, ignore whatever the overlay said, because it's usually like way off. I'll have to look at what Volanta says. And hopefully the FS Realistic just made that sound way worse than what it really was. Alright. Vegas traffic. Spirit Wings 204 is clear. Runway 19 left. Taxiing over to the Bravo gates. Vegas. Alright, so we'll just stop her right here. Man, that was like one of my worst landings ever. Alright, so on the spoilers, let's clean her up. Weather radar, predict wind shear, flaps, TA. All that's already off. Lights off. And we'll get that APU started. Cool. After landing checklist, cabin crews advised, auto thrust. Wait, wow. Jesus. I am flustered after that landing. After landing checklist, exterior lights are set, flaps retracted, TCAS is standby, engine mode selectors normal, ground spoilers are disarmed, radar predicted wind shear is off. After landing checklist complete. Alright, so Volanta says, oh my god, negative 286. That's terrible for me. Yesterday in Denver, I had negative 38. So I get a little irritated whenever I have ugly landings like that. Oh, XP72, what's up, man? Came in just in time to witness one of my worst landings I've ever made on stream. It'd be like that sometimes, though. Winds are definitely favoring the 2.6s far more than what we just did. But that's a realistic configuration. I mean, most days they're landing on 2.6 left, 1.9 left, 1.9 right. So, no excuses. Best show on YouTube, that's right. But XP, man, thank you so much for stopping by. And again, thank you so much for last night. That was such an incredible time. I had so much fun and reached a lot of people. Again, a lot of great comments in the chat, just that people didn't know about us and now they're considering it. This morning I was up on Discord answering lots of questions and stuff on the Discord from people who saw last night. So again, man, thank you so much for having me on. So much fun, and just so grateful. All right, where's my charts? All right, so we are on Whiskey. We're going to go straight into the Bravo gates, and we're going to be looking for Bravo 24. We have our 3-minute cooldown. Engine should be restabilized and all. So we're going to go yellow electric pump. And confirm engine 2 shutdown. Confirmed. Engine 2 shutdown. And once I get parked in the gate, I'm going to get back into the chat and want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Traffic. Oof. Them frame rates. The strip, man, it just kills them frame rates. I just had like a memory leak. Like even my computer, like my LED light started, or RGB started like stuttering. Yeah. And I bet you it's probably might have something to do with toolbar pushback, because I do have that installed.
Vegas traffic, Southwest 761. Taxi hold short, 19 left.
Yeah, them frames just tanked. Jacket. Yeah, we're gonna uninstall toolbar pushback after this one. I have not had a memory leak or whatever that is. I haven't had frame rates like this since I threw that back in there. XP72 just subscribed. That is awesome. Thank you so much, sir. This is Charlie 24. So where is... Oh my god. I went right by it. Oh well. I'll just park at the wrong gate. XP, awesome dude. Thank you so much for subscribing. Y'all are the best. Man, these frame rates are painful. And just for, I guess just to give an idea, y'all. I have Jetline Systems custom PC, RTX 3080, 64 gigs of RAM, Intel i7. I mean, a relatively capable computer. And shouldn't be getting these kind of frame rates. Alright, we'll take that. Parking brake set. APU's on the line. We'll shut down engine 1. TCAS back to TA. Wait for that bus to kick. Boom. Beacon's off. I do that more for a pilot's life. If you turn it off too early, that was supposed to be off too. If you turn it off too early, then the pilot's life reads that the beacon light was like on while or off while the engine was on. It deducts points. Seatbelt sign off, and we'll get those fuel pumps shut off. Jet bridge is on the way. We can deboard, and now we're gonna run our last little checklist that we can't see because the sun's so bright. Alrighty, parking checklist. Slides are disarmed, engines are off, seatbelt signs are off, exterior lights are set, ice protection's off, fuel pumps are off, yellow pump is off, parking brake is on. Parking checklist is complete. Sweet. Now we can come out here and we're going to, oh, maybe if we can get the frames to stop just dying. We'll let our jump seater get out. Tell them have a good time on the strip. Dude, this frames it's lagging so bad. Ugh. We're just gonna stop. We'll stop moving that around. Alright guys, let's get back to the chat real quick before we get out of here. Let's see. Right seat ops. Oh. There's so much that I missed. Probably won't be able to get to all of it. John Deere came off track and said, that's funny. Is lightning, yippee, fun times. And oh, bruh. Get out the damn hot tub. You got lightning around, you don't be sitting in no hot tub. You guys heard about that DoorDash Amazon glitch? You get everything for free. It was crazy. Oh wow, I didn't hear about that. Huh. Oh my lord, it's like bananas. You're like bananas, so we must fly Spirit. That's funny. I just had a trainee the other day. Her name is Anna, and I was like, "Oh, you're perfect for Spirit." Anna, dispatch the banana. I really want that Boeing yoke. Does it still work? Oh yeah, it works. I just I plug it in whenever I fly Boeings, and then when I fly Airbus, we plug in the TCA stuff. In fact, on my Bravo throttle back there, also got the radio stack, which I'm not really sure how much I like it. There's a lot of digits that it kind of skips, but yeah, I'll use it. Yeah. It just doesn't move as fast. Like you still have to look down and confirm because it skips like the third digit of the radio frequency. You have to still look in the virtual cockpit and make sure you're on the right frequency. So, meh. Which cause for some sleep. Nice, sweet landing. XP, were you around whenever we went around? That part was a little fun. Nice landing. Now it's time for beers on the strip. Yep. In fact, most of the time when I'm streaming, it's time for beers while streaming. Usually drinking a Corona. Today it's coffee. So I'm trying to preserve myself. I think tomorrow night, me and my girlfriend and another buddy of mine who is currently doing online classes for dispatch, for his dispatch license, him and his wife, us four, we're going to go out to a new Mexican restaurant that recently opened up. Looks really nice. And then after that, we're going to go watch Top Gun. I've seen Top Gun, so as my girlfriend, we went together already, but my buddy and his wife haven't seen it, so I really want to see it again. So we're going to go see Top Gun. That's going to be a date night tomorrow night. Great stream last night. Yep. Thanks for being a great guest. Oh, y'all just so sweet. Negative 26, not bad. You can walk away. Oh yeah, you can definitely walk away from it. It's just I hold my I mean, I've been flight simming since 2009. I feel like at this point, every one of my landings should be less than 100. But you know, that's just not going to happen. You got to head to Walmart, pick up stuff for flight to Chicago tomorrow. Make sure you take pictures on your flight tomorrow and post it in the Discord. But I hope you have a safe flight, dude. I know you're always jumping back and forth between Chicago and Atlanta, so have safe travels, and hopefully your flights are on time. Who are you flying tomorrow, by the way, if you're still on here, Chase? Absolutely worth it, dude. Awesome. I swear the stuff I come up with, I could have been a billionaire if I had followed through with the ideas.
2038 text.
Absolutely could have. You've always got some really funny things. You should just write. You should just make cards, like that you sell at the grocery store. It's Friday, like George Jones said. Yep, sure enough. Retro, what's going on, my friend? Sorry, I'm just now getting to. I was trying to. I had to ignore the chat for a while flying, so I was trying to catch back up. So if you're still here, welcome aboard. Catching the very end of the stream. But again, if you're interested in anything dispatch, like even how to like just plan your flight sim flights, if you want to add more context to that, you can always go to the playback. This is going to publish, and I'm also going to do chapters as well to help people kind of find what they want to see in the stream. I do that pretty often after my live streams. I'll go throw in some chapters so that y'all don't have to like keep, forwarding around and trying to find when the push out is or when the landing is and that kind of stuff. So look forward to chapters on here too. I'll do that as soon as we get off. So anybody wants to watch just the dispatch portion can do that, as well as the rest of the stream. I usually categorize it by phases of flight. So anyways, Retro, welcome aboard, my friend. Happy to see you here, and hopefully we'll see you on a future wrong side channel. Or wrong side stream rather here pretty soon. I'm not sure what I'm doing early tomorrow, so maybe if my girlfriend goes to the gym tomorrow morning, maybe we can squeeze in another flight of some sort. Maybe we'll get crazy and we'll fly the 7-3. Ooh, if we want to get real crazy, maybe we'll fly the MD. We haven't flown that thing in a while. I think most people probably rather see the 7-3 instead of the MD, but could fly some retro Spirit ops here on the V-Spirit. Whatever, the V-Spirit airline. They do include retro MD routes, which is pretty neat. I like living dangerously, like Shaq said, stay dangerous. That's right. I think there's a limit to staying dangerous, especially in aviation. Great job, brother. Really enjoy the stream. Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Fly with Aldo. Man, it's just so sweet. Appreciate the kind comments earlier, and hopefully, may I see you in the future streams. I thought we were doing Singapore JFK after this. False. All right, guys. Well, thank y'all so much. And again, if you haven't already liked the channel or liked the stream, please do so. We're breaking records today, and just super excited about it. Again, big shout out to Blu and XP for having me on last night. It was so much fun. The time just flew by. I can't thank them enough for the opportunity that they gave me. So anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for me. Hopefully I can get a stream in tomorrow. That's one thing that I kind of want to get better at is I want to get more consistent with the with the streams and my stream schedule. I'm gonna have to figure out what my schedule is going to be like as far as in relation to streaming once I start my new role as dispatch manager, because that will definitely change some things. I want to try to get more consistent with that, so that y'all kind of know when to expect me to go on, and maybe even like start publishing some schedules for the streams in the Discord, something like that. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Most of the time whenever I do go on, usually it's kind of short notice, because I usually don't know what I'm doing during the day, because that's usually dictated by my girlfriend. So hit that notification bell. That way, when I pop or schedule a stream, 30, 45 minutes prior, you'll know about it. But thank y'all so much for the kind words about the show last night. Being interested in Dispatch, and I mean, just thank y'all for everything. Thank y'all for coming to hang out and watch, and I mean, y'all mean a lot to me, and I enjoy this so much and being able to interact with y'all. So anyways, hope y'all have a great rest of your day and a great weekend if I don't see y'all for the rest of the weekend. Other than that, as always, keep it on the wrong side, and we'll see you on the next go round. And that's not the right screen.